I pre-ordered a movie that I'm excited to see, but it brought up a lot of thoughts in my head. I pre-ordered the movie The Cursed. In the late 1800s, a man arrives in a remote county village to investigate an attack by a wild animal, but discovers a much more deeper and sinister force that has the manor and its township in its grip. It got me thinking, like, the late 1800s, and I'm just like, can we please just get a werewolf movie that's not set in, like, a small town out in the woods? Or, you know, like...
I have just the movie for you.
Well, hold on. Because we had Ginger Snaps, which was like a Canadian town. But again, it's still a small town. I'm saying we need to take this shit to like space or something like that.
I was going to say American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, have you done? Or
it's a bigger place, but you don't get the werewolf doing much in the city. You get like 5 minutes of the werewolf doing anything. I want a movie that's
he wakes up in a zoo.
I want werewolf centric. Like we get to like see the ins and outs. Like what if like a werewolf was like had a job where, you know, we followed him through his day to day. Like how does he handle being a werewolf with his day-to-day for an extended period of time? Not just, oh my God, I transformed for the first time. We always see the first
So
transformation.
you're just waiting for werewolves to come out.
Right. Butter Mike, John.
No, that was good. Thumbs up.
I don't know. I'm just saying we could do a lot of things. Yeah. I mean, I know I was thinking like, what if they worked at NASA and they had to study the moon and they see a picture of a full moon? Does that count?
Okay, concept.
All right.
The Howling Nine. Mike Collins is a werewolf.
Mike Collins is a werewolf. That's why he couldn't get out of the moon lander. Because if he did,
that's why he had to stay in the orbiter.
Oh. Those suits are not designed for werewolf bodies.
That's true.
But that's a good question, though.
I think your movie, though, would just be someone going about their lives for most of it, because if you are a werewolf and you're not currently in wolf form, why would you be any different than just a
But if you go into wolf form, though, how do you handle that long term? Like, you got to kill, you got to eat. Like, how do you manage to keep that under wraps? How do you handle hiding bodies? I'm just saying, I want like a very mundane kind of like, you know, day to day of like, I've been a werewolf for 34 years, but this is how I deal with it.
Do werewolves hide bodies? Every werewolf movie I've seen,
maybe
his
wife and him are having tough times because he's a werewolf.
And okay, what if Mike Collins does land on the moon, turns into a werewolf? If only a silver bullet can kill a werewolf, now we just have a werewolf infested fucking moon.
Oh, that's true. Moon's haunted.
That's true. You know what? The moon's haunted.
That's an old internet thing.
Yeah, it's from the game Destiny.
Yeah.
So for all my nerds out there,
but now we have to build a moon base for World War III. But shit, there's werewolves up there already.
We cannot go to the moon anymore. What if you worked at NASA designing the ISS and they wanted a moon window, but you're like, oh my God, I can't put a moon window on there. They'll be turned into werewolves.
Well, your main problem would be it orbits like 8 times like a day, so you'd be transitioning.
Werewolf, unwerewolf, werewolf, unwerewolf.
Super
How would you
rapid.
manage that? See, this is what I'm talking about. I want to get into the deep dive of what it is to be a werewolf.
But your
just living
werewolf
day.
time is so brief, it doesn't allow you to cause that much damage. Maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Garrett, I think you need to create like the Institute for Advanced Werewolf Studies.
Okay.
And really start working this out here.
I think so. Anybody out there who wants to get in on this, hit me up. I'm down to deep dive. What does it mean to be a werewolf?
Yeah.
That's going to be my college thesis. I'm going to go back to college, you guys. It's going to be a Rodney Dangerfield situation.
It sounds like, Garrett, what you want is a werewolf soap opera. Days of Our Wolves.
Nights of Our Lives. Days of Our Lives.
Bam, that's
Boom.
even better. That's the kind of stuff that comes out of the Institute for Advanced Werewolf Studies, okay? So...
Hey, all you creatures from cyberspace. Welcome to another episode of the GraveTalk podcast. I'm your host, Garrett, the hostess with the mostest, and all that other fun stuff. Here with John, the man with the plan.
Uh-oh.
And here with guest host, Alix, filling in for Mark, who unfortunately is under the weather and will not be with us today. But we will cut to him later to get his thoughts about this film, because it would not be a Chainsaw Massacre movie without Mark's in-depth, insightful hot takes.
It's true.
Alix, how have you been?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. John, how have you been?
I'm doing all right. You know what I got to say? I think Alix has been on the podcast enough to graduate from guest host to honorary fourth host.
She may be honorary fourth host, but you know what we should start doing like Alix like mini episodes where she just like tells us we're wrong about every hot take that we have.
Yeah, and like laughs at our
She
terrible.
just critiques us. She just like, oh, you know what? She reviews the review.
There's nothing I love more than being right. So that seems like a great role for me.
Well, John, I'm glad you're doing okay. I know the world's been a little crazy lately, and we're going to take a break today. We're going to talk about a new horror film that just came out on the Netflix, which just raised their prices. Thanks, Netflix.
They better.
They're all doing it. I mean, there's no escape. At some point, we're going to be paying $400 a month just for streaming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, others
Inflation, man.
It's the worst. But others have mentioned this, but one day I'd like to be able to buy a package of different streaming services, where I just pay one fee and I can
If
get...
only there was some kind of like media structure that we could have looked to basically, and it's almost like we went away from that to get away from that very same shitty model. But here we are. So we're talking about 2022's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is it the? Hold
No,
on.
it is just Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, I've got like multiple screenshots here because Mark, in all his glory, did give us the information we needed in advance. So.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Even out sick, he did all
From
the...
beyond the grave.
I'm not dead.
So yes, it is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. It comes in at a tight, John, hour and 23 minutes. That's with a post-credit scene, if you want to call that a post-credit scene.
Perfect pacing. I have many complaints, but no pacing complaints.
Well, the description for this is, in this sequel, influencers looking to breathe new life into a Texas ghost town encounter Leatherface, an infamous killer who wears a mask of human skin. I feel like that's accurate. I feel like that's just enough to let you know what's going on.
I feel like the people who wrote this movie didn't know how many likes on Instagram an actual influencer gets because their numbers were very small.
I feel like, not to get too ahead of ourselves here, but the makers of this film are very detached from the youth of today. And by youth, I mean adults under 45, even though I assume most of the people involved in this film to be adults under 45.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I'm surprised the actors who seem to be age appropriate weren't like, y'all, we do not talk this way. Can we get the screenwriter in here?
I'm sure actors that are age appropriate were like, yo, this check is sweet. This is that Netflix money. Let's do this.
Fair point.
Yeah, all of the very age appropriate actors here understand that they have bills to pay.
Well, with inflation, as you guys said, those bills are not getting any lower.
Yeah, but apparently 2 chefs can buy a whole town.
You get that sweet, sweet chef money. Before we get into this movie, let's go ahead and do a quick roundtable. John, what have you been up to, man?
I've been up to being on vacation, so I didn't watch any horror movies at all.
That's right. You went down. Wait, is Puerto Rico below the equator?
No.
It's above the
It's
equator.
above, but I went south anyway. It's south from here.
It is
so-
below the continental United States.
Yeah.
Anything crazy happened that could warrant a horror movie script?
Did you marry a llama?
No, I didn't. That would have been awesome, but no. And also, no, it was a very uneventful, you know what was a horror movie trip? Being stuck in the airport for 20 hours on the way home. Ooh. That's just real life horror. Nothing supernatural happened.
That's just mundane reality at its best.
Just watching people fall apart in the airport. Myself included.
I always wondered if I could handle that.
Oh, dude, it's almost as boring as hearing people talk about being stuck in an airport. It's being stuck in an airport. It's just tedium to the max.
When I was 20, I got stuck in the Philadelphia airport for a full 24 hours. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But now I tell people that I have been to Pennsylvania because I think that counts.
Definitely. The worst parts of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But,
Did you step outside the front door of the airport?
Yes.
Okay, then you
It
did.
was very humid.
Then you did. You were in Pennsylvania. Alix, did you do anything exciting or noteworthy, horror related that we should know about?
I watched, I believe, 1997's The Devil's Advocate yesterday with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves and Charlize Theron. It was actually pretty enjoyable. I hadn't seen it since I was in my
fan.
early teens, I think. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it.
I have one thing to say. She's got a great ass.
I mean, if you like your Al Pacino yelling, this movie
is peak Pacino.
It is a Pacino tour de force, and Keanu Reeves is acceptable.
Yeah.
It's just so good you want to put a cap on it.
It's
a cappuccino.
It's a big stretch to believe that he was a very hotshot lawyer with his sort of blank surfer stare. But you know what? I'll give it.
You know what? All kinds.
I like his in and out Southern accent. It's very fun.
Do you guys want to talk about Devil's Advocate instead?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to unpack this movie.
So maybe we'll do a mini about the Devil's Advocate.
Yeah. Just best Pacino monologues. Maybe that could be an episode.
Son of a woman.
Yeah, we're
Hoo-ah.
top Pacino yells.
Oh man. But anyway, let's talk about what everyone's here for. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, starring Sarah Yarkin as Melody, Elsie Fisher as Lila, Mark Burnham as Leatherface. That dude's picture on IMDb is rad. He looks angry as fuck. I love it. Jacob Lattimore as Dante, Mo Dunford as Richter, Owen Fiorieri as Sally Hardesty, or Owen's
You're doing great.
Owler founder. I don't know. Whatever.
Mark, save us.
This is the chick from Mandy. Jessica Elaine as Catherine, Neil Hudson as Ruth, and then everyone else is just random characters. We got
Cannon fodder.
Yeah, we got some random people here. No one that you've really like seen before. Oh, John Larroquette as the narrator.
I have
Nice.
no recollection of
He
narration.
talked like for 5 seconds at the beginning of the film where he said, in 1970 something,
Austin, Texas. 4 boys and girls were basically murdered by
Or it
a
was
piece
the-
of the art equipment.
It was the documentary that was playing.
Yes.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Which is a throwback to the original because John Larroquette originally did
Yeah.
the narration for the first Chainsaw. So
Fun fact about that, I rewatched it last night and I realized I live 9 minutes away from the cemetery at the beginning of that movie. There's a CVS right next to it now, and it is not a field anymore. It is a very urban area. I was shocked.
Do you think there's an episode of Night Court where they put Leatherface on trial?
probably not.
There needs to be, though.
So anyway, this movie is very much a Halloween 2008 situation where it takes place right after the first film. So at this point, according to this Netflix film,
Yeah.
part 2 and anything afterwards does not exist. Maybe the origin story, the Leatherface origin story, where like the one we did, Leatherface.
No, but it can't because that one feeds into the 2003 timeline, which is
does
so
it?
different than. I assume those movies are in their own Texas timeline. Then there's like the main timeline, and now there's this new Netflix timeline. Because
So
what
much
this
going on here.
series needed was a lot of convoluted, complicated storytelling.
Well, guess what it didn't have? Convoluted storytelling.
No, barely any storytelling, which, you know what, probably was for the better.
I would generally agree with that because the story they did attempt, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the story they did attempt bringing back our final girl from the first movie was probably the weakest part of the whole movie to me. It made no sense and it served no purpose.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, this was written by Chris Thomas Devlin and story by Fede Alvarez, Rodo Sayagues. I'm so sorry, man. Rodosayyagues. Anyway, that guy and Kim Henkel had some story credits because it was based off characters that he created. So it was written by them. So it looks like we have a few people that are heavy hitters involved. Fede
Yeah.
Alvarez has done some stuff
Because
that
he
we've
did
done.
what? Don't Breathe and
Yep.
a couple of other things, I think.
Yep.
Man, Don't Breathe was pretty good. And then he did this.
And then it was directed by
Listen,
David.
he's got bills too.
It was directed by David Blue Garcia, who I don't think has done anything else that we really know about. He did Bloodfest, Tejano.
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, which means that he doesn't have a very robust resume yet.
Get off
Yeah.
Wikipedia. We're on IMDb.
I
we're,
will never.
we're an IMDb podcast here.
No, Wikipedia is the like canonical source of all knowledge. If it's not on Wikipedia, it doesn't exist.
Except it's updatable by anybody.
Yeah, that's what
So
makes it.
That's dangerous.
That's what makes it fun.
Have you read your entry? John, you're not going to be happy.
You know.
I spent 4 hours on that bad boy.
I didn't even know I used to be in the Village People.
Yeah, well, someone's got to be the why. So
Well, let's go ahead and talk about this movie because honestly, there's a lot to say. So this movie opens up with what I thought was a nice little like throwback is the Legendary Entertainment logo. I hadn't seen Legendary's logo in a while, and I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome. They're still doing stuff. So I was kind of excited to see that. And then we cut right into a DVD starting. Which is, I guess, a little bit different from the old film that they used in the original one. But basically, it's a DVD starting, and we get our little documentary kind of like back in 1970-something or other. 1974. Some kids, no named.
They got the shit hella murdered out of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
by unknown people. They don't know who they are.
They didn't know it was the Sawyers.
No, because as the clerk says, he was wearing a mask. Makes it hard to know who it is. And
Yeah,
they're
but
like,
you would know that the Sawyer family got killed in all this,
you
though.
would think you would know that, but they really just shot that kid down. He's like, why are you asking stupid questions? The guy was wearing a mask. Like, oh well, we can't solve any crimes.
I mean, I feel like this is just a very incisive impeachment of the Texas criminal justice system because they apparently did not investigate this crime at all.
They're not great about it, but they did say 5 youths, and the way John Larroquette said it made it sound like Joe Pesci saying 5 youths.
I cannot hear the word youth without thinking, like, what are you saying?
So we get the little backstory about that. I don't know if they actually said anything about Sally escaping during this, because I don't remember
Not in the DVD part,
not
but
in the documentary
the
part.
clerk says, yeah, she became a Texas Ranger and tried to find him for
once
30 years.
Yeah, once we get to the gas station.
Well, this is all in the gas station. It opened in the gas station. The documentary is on the TV of the gas station, and one of the sisters, the one who doesn't have curly hair,
Elsie.
Elsie.
Well, that's her real life name. What's her fake name? Movie name? Character name?
Lila.
Lila.
Okay, so Lila is watching it on a TV, and then it sort of zooms out from the TV, and she's in this gas station with all this Texas Chainsaw merch. Some of it was pretty cool.
I was kind of upset they didn't actually make that the original gas station. The one that's like a tourist trap now.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been cool if they had actually had it be the same gas station. It just time had moved on.
It was
to where,
too touristy. They couldn't afford to film there.
They didn't have that kind of money. It's only Netflix, okay? And so we talk about the ultimate checkoff. She grabs a Texas Chainsaw corkscrew. Remember that. In 90 minutes, that's going to be important for 5 seconds.
In 80 minutes.
Yeah, it's a chainsaw. It's a little plastic chainsaw with a corkscrew on it. And then so she's buying
Just supplies.
merch, you know, whatever you want after seeing this little thing. And then she asked the desk clerk, hey, did they ever catch this guy? And he was like, nope. But one girl escaped and she became a Texas Ranger, which I thought was a weird trajectory.
So I watched 1 and then 2, there are 2, whatever we're calling this, sort of back to back. And there's nothing in that character of Sally that makes you think she is going to go from here into becoming a hard ass Texas Texas
Rainsaw.
Texas Ranger, like super cop. She does.
Well, I got good news for you. She ain't no super cop.
No, she's definitely not. Which is why she spent 30 years and couldn't catch this guy who had apparently moved like literally 5 feet from where this massacre happened.
Flat out failed. You're bad at your job, Sally.
So bad.
So Melody
Wasn't even hiding.
So Lila's sister Melody comes in, who looks like maybe Funke from Arrested Development.
Aaliyah Shawkat.
Sure, I don't know her name, but that's who she reminded me of.
Yeah, 20 years ago, that's who it would have been.
They have the same head of hair.
This is where we kind of get our first glimpse that these are a bunch of quote-unquote millennials or youngsters or city folk.
One, you sound very old when you call them millennials because millennials are not the young people anymore.
And you are a millennial, I'm sorry to tell you.
These are Gen Z. Also, though, this is the first moment I knew, like, okay, no one who wrote this movie has ever been in Texas because these people are from Austin, which, while is not like, the most Texas place on earth, they act like they have never seen any other Texan before when they see this guy come up with the truck.
Yeah, and if you have ever been to Austin, you'll know that still a large chunk of the population here drives huge ass trucks.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We're still in Texas.
Asshole Texas is not foreign to you if you live in Austin.
No,
you may
it's
have your
not.
little pockets of safe, I don't have to deal with that bullshit. But let's just be honest. You're very well versed in the asshole Texas that surrounds this city.
Yeah, because you drive 20 minutes and you're in Texas.
Yeah, like they act like it would have been much more believable if they had said, like, okay, these are people who are moving here from California. One, that would have fit in with their whole theme of this movie, or what they tried to make a theme, and at least would have made sense why they were so confused that this guy was driving a truck.
I would just say in general, the themes that this movie is attempting to explore, if I'm being generous, I'll say they fall a little flat.
Yeah, I would agree.
So they go out to the front of the gas station. They're filling up their Tesla without any Tesla logos on it because I'm pretty sure they did not get permission
surely
to
they're
use
not
Tesla.
filling it up.
No, they're just parked there rudely. They're taking up a pump
You got to fill up
space.
your car with gas, though.
No, there's no gas in it. Dude, have you that's the whole thing about Tesla. There's
Oh,
no
shit,
gas.
they're electric. That's right. I don't know if I'm a millennial, you guys. I was born in 80, all right? I think I'm on that cusp of just being too dumb to be a millennial.
Here's my question, though. What is the range on a Tesla? It's only, about 300 or so miles?
Yeah, they claim they drove 7 hours outside of Austin.
Yeah, that's implausible because even if they could make the one-way trip, there's no charging station in this ghost town
Don't they have
bought.
solar panels on top so you can get sun power?
No, they would have had
That was James Brown's worst hit. Sun power!
I assume they're going west, lost, right? I mean, I guess if they stayed on the interstate for most of the way, they might have found like a Denny's or something that had a charge.
So anyway,
That
they're
would-
in a Tesla, which is not labeled as a Tesla, and this big Texas truck pulls up next to him, and blah 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 blah, and the dude gets out. And this is actually Richter. Then we come to find out Richter is a major character later on, but he gets out. He's got a gun on his hip, and Lila at this point gets a little like kind of like, for lack of a better term, gun shy.
Yeah.
And she's a little like kind of like scared and worried. And then her sister
Starts
Melody.
mouthing off.
So stupid.
she's like, what kind of small dick person's got to wear their gun on the outside of their pants? Boo, 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 boo. Which honestly, let's be honest, maybe a thing. But in this situation, don't mouth off in the middle of fucking nowhere with someone with a gun.
You do it in your car with your friends
Yeah,
when he's not going to shoot you.
exactly.
Yeah, because if I'm at a rural gas station and I see some tough looking dude with a gun on his hip, yes, that's going to make me uncomfortable. Despite the fact I've lived in Texas for a while, that's going to make me uncomfortable. But I'm not going to say anything. Jesus Christ, this man is armed.
Yeah.
Be like, New York City, get a rope.
Salsa from New York City.
So Melody starts talking shit. Lila gets in the car. She's like, come on, let's just go. They basically get in. Richter has something to
He
say. He's
says-
like, there's feral hogs around here. We got a
Yes.
feral hog problem.
Yeah, he makes a threat about invasive species.
Yes, and he's referring to the young city millennials
Yeah.
that
Also,
are coming
his
to
truck
Harlow.
was not that big. It wasn't
No.
like comically large. I've seen bigger trucks like try to navigate
and
downtown.
F-250 is bigger than what
Yeah.
he had. But yeah, they make it to be like this big imposing thing. So anyway, we get the whole like, well, maybe there's a reason for him being this way, which obviously there is, but they drive off. So now we get the whole backstory of why they're going out to this place, Harlow, what they're doing there, why they're doing it, yada, yada, yada. We
Yeah.
find out that Lila was shot in a school shooting. And so she's got a bullet hole scar on her chest. So she's like really scared and timid of guns and violence and stuff. And her sister's like, we're going to start this utopia out in the middle of Texas to basically get away from violence and the woes of the city and yada, yada, yada.
And Utopia is apparently a restaurant and an art gallery
Yeah, and a comic book shop.
and a comic book shop.
hey,
with no customers.
if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
All right? It's comics, baby.
I think a lot of closed comic book shops would disagree with that.
Yeah.
This is not the time of
It's
the
a
place.
struggling industry.
This is not the time of the place, you guys.
But
anyway.
yeah, and so so the paper thin plot here is that these two are influencers. They're like famous. These two being Dante and Melody are famous chefs that run a food truck
I
in
think
Austin.
only one of them. I think only Dante's a chef, and she's an artist because she's like, "Oh, that'd be a great place for
No,
my art gallery."
his Dante's girlfriend mentioned the art gallery. Melody is also a chef.
Melody's a
yeah,
chef.
they have
Oh.
the truck together.
I never knew what Melody did this whole movie. I was like, "What the fuck is she here for?" Other than like she's got to like get her sister out of the city.
And so a bank bought a whole town, like foreclosed on a whole town, and they got in touch with these influencers, run the auction to sell all of the buildings.
I think the influencers they bought the whole town.
Or the
And-
influencers bought the whole town.
Yes, they bought the
Or
whole
'cause
town
they
from the
have
bank,
the title,
and then
yeah.
they're going to sell off this to like
Other investors.
Investors,
Yeah,
yes.
so food truck
and investors,
money.
let's put this in quotes. Investors is young millennial kids, all with ideals of making this the hippest place in existence.
7 hours outside of Austin, where literally nobody is going to go.
You could almost get to like El Paso.
Yeah. It'd be
Where are they? Like, I don't know.
Harlow, they say it like
Yes.
500 times.
no,
well-
but where in Texas? with
Is it near like Midland or something? I don't know.
I don't know. Bastrop is where the other one was like kind of took place in the originals, so it's only like maybe like 45 minutes away from Austin.
Yeah,
so
but they're saying it's way farther.
Yeah, they're saying it's
which
7.
begs the question: how did Leatherface get so far from his original home?
They never said where. Well, they said it took place in like a fake county. They never said where. It was filmed around here.
And it can't be that far away because, spoiler alert, he walks back to his house.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they're trying to be like they heard about Marfa and they're like, we can make one of those too or something.
Literally, yeah.
So they go to Harlow. They get out of their car. They look at this ghost town, which has a giant bronze statue of a guy on a horse. It's got a movie theater that's run down.
Definitely a Confederate memorial.
It's just basically just your standard ghost town, which I didn't know at the time that you could just buy ghost towns, but evidently that's a thing.
I gotta say, it's a really well-maintained ghost town because
is.
I don't know how many ghost towns you've been to.
Well, let's point out the reason it is because
Somehow, one man Richter fixed all of those buildings.
yes, our guy from the gas station pulls up as they're walking around. They're like, "Oh, this would be a great place for the restaurant, our comic book store, blah blah blah." And then they see the truck and they're like, "Oh my god, what is that guy doing here?" And he walks out, and then Dante goes, "Oh, hey man, you must be Richter." You think they would have introduced each other at the gas station, but
no, because he was being they didn't know it was Richter. They just thought it was just I guess they had never seen Richter.
yeah,
'Cause
but
the bank hired
But
Richter.
Richter could have been like, "Hey, are you the new people that just bought my entire town that I handyman in?
Well,
Hi, I'm the guy."
he may have if they weren't immediately a dick to him. As soon as he got out of the car, Melody's like, "Look at this fucking prick."
So they're walking around town after meeting Richter, and he's just like, "Look, you know you bought it from the bank. I'm not thrilled with it. Just remember, people live around here. Don't be dicks."
He calls them gentrifuckers, which I did like. But if everyone's already evicted, they're not really gentrifying.
Exactly.
So this movie has a very weak understanding of what gentrification is. But and so then they see a Confederate flag, and once again, because apparently they've never been in Texas before, they like freak out and they're like, "Oh my god! All these investors who have also never been to Texas before are not going to invest if they see one shitty Confederate flag."
Because you know what's really hard to do? Take a flag down.
Well, obviously it was because Dante could not do it, but Dante sees the flag and I mean, Dante's a black character, so like I thought they were going to go with a little bit more like he takes this way personal, and they kind of play it that way at the beginning. But then once he like tries to pull it down and can't, he couldn't be fucked to basically like deal with the flag anymore. He's just like, oh, well, guess it's staying up. We'll get Richter to take it down.
He also tries to take it like down and just. Kind of like OJ putting on the glove, man. He was just like, I give up. This sucks.
Jeez,
he puts like the most half-ass effort into, and he's so close. If he tried a little bit, he could have grabbed it.
And also that flag is raggedy as hell. He could have just ripped it down.
Yeah, or just been like, hey, this town's a ghost town. I don't know why there's a Confederate flag there.
Hey guys, we just got here.
Yeah.
We haven't had time to deconfederate this place. Just know that we'll take down all.
We haven't had time to unionize this bitch.
Right. When you own the building, you can take care of the flag, okay? Like,
but evidently a woman is still inside this building, which is an orphanage, because on the front of the building, there's a giant brass plaque that says orphanage.
Yes.
And just orphanage.
well, what do you need to know? Harlow Orphanage. It's where the orphans are.
It's all in the name.
So this old woman comes out, and I thought this was Sally at first because she's like old white-haired lady, and I was just like, oh my God, did Sally start an orphanage? How nice. And she's like, this is my house. I live here. My boys and my kids need me. You don't own this place. And they're like, yo, straight up, ma'am, you got to leave. We do own this place.
I love that we get a great piece of foreshadowing here when she's like, wish I knew y'all were coming. I'd have put on my face.
Yes, I was like, I see what you did, movie.
Clever, except she is definitely not Leatherface, because we see a large individual at the top of the stairs towering in silhouette.
Yeah, he should have said, I'd have put on your face.
Yeah.
But I was like, I looked up at that and I was just like, oh, we're not even going to try to hide that Leatherface exists in this
No.
place. He is there. Like you're not supposed to know it's him, but you immediately know this is Leatherface.
Yes. Also, I don't think I had to see that character to know that this lady was not Leatherface. One, because she's a lady, and two, because she was on oxygen.
She's a lady!
And was like 700 years old. So
On oxygen,
Yeah.
yes. Did you say on oxygen?
yes, she was on oxygen.
Oh, man. Yeah, so she is just barely hanging in there. So
She's
Dante-
also an absolute nightmare of a close talker. Jerry Seinfeld would hate this woman.
She really
Yeah, she does get right up in those people's faces.
But those people also, though, I was like, good. I can't wait for Leatherface to kill all y'all, because those kids were just dicks right out the gate anyway, unnecessarily aggressive to this lady.
Well, I understand Dante's perspective where he's just like, I bought all this. You don't live here. We've got the deeds. But then she goes, no, I worked this out with the bank. I have the deed. And he immediately blows up and he's like, fuck you do. I'm going to get Richter. You're getting the fuck out. I'm going to get the sheriff. You're getting out of here. I mean, as any like common sense person who just had a massive business deal go through, just double check the T's and cross the, like just double check it. Like, go check your paperwork. And that's what Melody's all like, like sitting there with the lady after Dante storms out. And he's like, I'm going to go with the sheriff. And she's like, look, ma'am, like, I don't want to be a dick, but you got to go. And she's like, no, my boys need me. My boys. And it's like, first off, I've only seen one person, not a boy.
She does say my boy. She says my boy.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah,
okay, I thought
does
she
say
said
one.
my boys. So
My homies need me, yo. The mature way to handle this would have been like, look, can you find the title? If you do, let us know. I mean, they're not like these investors aren't coming and moving in immediately. They could have given this lady a couple of hours.
Yeah, and also, even if she does own the building, now you can really gentrify someone.
Yeah, like finally we could gentrification.
I think Dante is just really worried about the whole deal falling through. And so he's just reacting because he's like, this has got to go perfect. But the thing is, though, you don't sell everything at once in an investment opportunity like that. So like there's going to be like a couple weeks of like auctions going on.
Also, if your investors are coming into an abandoned town and are expecting everything to be perfect, they're not going to make it. Their plan is like they're not going to be very successful in investing in these buildings because even if the facade looks fine, all of these buildings probably need major interior work.
None of them are up to code.
Yeah.
None of them are up to code. Except maybe, I don't know, maybe Richter's amazing at what he does.
He fixed up the whole town.
He did. It's just, it's a real Blazing Saddles situation. He built it overnight. But so Melody is like, look, I'm really sorry, but you got to go. You got to go. She's trying to be nice, but she is also kind of being a real like abrasive dickhead.
Yeah, real hard ass to this lady who also like, even if she was like, okay, fine, I'll go. Like, did she expect her to just drag her oxygen and walk off into the sunset? They weren't even giving this lady time to like get her shit together.
But Melody freaks her out enough to where she starts having breathing problems. She's collapsing. She's going down, and then thump down the stairs. Here comes large individual who we're not supposed to know is Leatherface yet.
I think we're supposed to.
Well, no, it's not Melody's fault. I mean, it kind of is because it's all their fault because they're all dicks. But Dante comes back with the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, look, you need to get out of here. What are you doing? And
when the sheriff and the deputy are hauling her out, that's when she has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because I thought the sheriff also being a local person. Oh, we also forgot to say that the sheriff and the deputy pulled over these kids coming into Harlow the very first time. They're like, hey, look, we understand what you guys are doing here. We know you bought it. We know what you're trying to do. But just remember, it's not your way or the highway. Like, you have to understand that people live around here. So they kind of gave him a polite warning.
Who lives around there? Apparently, those two cops are the only cops in 60 miles. We don't see any. I mean, the only other person we see is the gas station. They keep talking about these residents that I don't know who they are.
The rats.
The movie doesn't show you.
Yeah, I think we have about like 6 or 7 residents because we have our sheriff, our deputy. We got Richter who lives in a warehouse kind of or something.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he squats.
We have the gas station guy. We have the lady and we have Leatherface.
Yeah.
These are our residents.
But then we got to be real respectful of the residents who are selling chainsaw merch.
We're the residents. Good night.
Yeah. I mean, the least believable part is that there is no shit bar in this county.
Oh,
or maybe it's a dry county.
They make their own moonshine, bro.
Yeah,
Don't get it twisted.
Fair.
So
yeah, the cops come and they're like, look, I thought we talked about this. You got to get out of here. So the cops did think that she was supposed to dip as well. And she's like, no, this is my home.
Well, to be fair, Dante thought that he had all the deeds and everything.
Yeah, but also it's like, I mean, come on.
The cops need to do their due diligence here. And honestly, if you've ever watched someone go through an eviction process, which I hope you haven't because I feel very horribly for anyone who has gone through that process personally, it takes a really long time to actually evict someone.
Even if they're just like straight up squatters, let alone if they might have the cops don't just come in and drag you out till like a long process plays out.
Pandemic changed everything, boys.
I guess so.
All right.
So they forcefully and illegally evict this lady. Good point. Didn't even think of that. And then, yes, she has like a heart attack or a stroke or something. And Melody's like, we got to call the ambulance. And the sheriff's like,
we are the ambulance.
Also the ambulance for this very populous county.
And that's when Leatherface comes down, picks her up, takes her to the back of the van. And everyone at this point is kind of like lightly freaking out. They're like, oh my God, what do we do? And then
Just a light freak out.
Then Dante's girlfriend, Sarah.
I don't think they ever say her name. If they do, I was like, what is
Ruth?
Ruth, okay.
It's Ruth.
That would have been the 200th name I would have guessed.
Yeah, maybe it was in the credits, but I don't think it came out of a character's mouth.
Ruth is like, you and Melody have to stay here because Melody wants to go with them to the hospital. And then she's like, no, you guys got to stay here. You got to sell this shit. This is the dream. If you leave now, it's never going to work, which seems stupid because no one's driving all the way out to Harlow, 7 hours from Austin to invest in something. And if one person's not there, they're going to be like, I'm out.
Well, yeah. Also, these people notably didn't even drive themselves. They rode a bus out
An
here.
old Greyhound bus that's been like retrofitted to be a party bus.
Which, if you're an investor and you don't even want to drive to your new town, I promise you, your customers don't want.
It's a community thing, man. You go as a group. You hang out.
We did skip one of my favorite scenes. Richter did call it. He goes, so what are y'all, a cult? And Ruth is like, well, we're just a collection of
who believe in a better world.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, that's a cult.
Yeah, that was a pretty great line.
Like,
the thing is most of these characters are likable in some form or fashion.
Really?
See,
honestly,
one of my notes says that this is continuing the proud tradition of insufferable protagonists in Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
100% agree. I was like, oh, I can't wait for all of y'all to get chainsawed.
The kids are insufferable in their own right, but I'm saying like the movie does a really good job of like immediately making you like understand and get what these characters are about. Like there's not a single character in this movie other than the sheriff at this point and maybe the gas station clerk who I didn't understand their motives, understand why they were behaving the way they were. I think that we did a good job of kind of like, well, okay, maybe not Ruth.
I disagree.
Because Ruth doesn't exist anywhere, but
I think these characters are somehow at the same time two-dimensional and completely unpredictable.
Yeah, I would agree. I was like, don't understand their motivations at all. Why are they in this town? Or even at the most
what are you talking about? We've spent the last 20 minutes of this movie explaining that very
why that's
thing.
a very fundamental, it's an unsound business plan. But even past that, it's like a fundamental decision right here. They're like, one of us has to go with this lady. Why? You don't know her.
Because you're a caring person.
No.
You want to make sure this old lady's okay.
All you are going to be in the way. If you go to the
That's why we send Ruth, who's basically nobody for this script.
But if you go to let's say she actually made it to the hospital, they're just going to be like, who are you? You're a stranger. You can't come into this lady's room.
Yeah, honestly, they probably wouldn't have even let her come in real life.
She's just going to be in
you
the way.
think this hospital out in the middle of BFE, Texas is going to be like, I'm sorry, man, we have very strict guidelines on visitors. No way.
HIPAA still exists in rural communities.
I mean, at the very least, also, moreover, then they're going to, realistically, if this was like as a rule, they're going to go to a very small, what are they called? Those like standalone ERs. And then she's going to have to go on to another actual ambulance to go to a real city. And what is Ruth going to do? Now she's just trapped in this tiny little like ER.
So in the confines of this movie and script, I feel like we know what everyone's deal is. Outside of that, with the HIPAA and
here's what
general
I know.
like ER situations in buttfuck Texas, who knows?
What I know about these characters is they all make poor decisions, and that is the main.
Sean, 152 episodes into a horror movie podcast. Now you're on the like, hey, these people are making bad decisions train.
Even by horror movie standards, these people are like gold star A+ bad decision makers.
Right, because wait till we get to the bus part. That is like
No.
Sequence
I'm
of
talking
idiots.
about the characters we've introduced so far.
Yeah.
Not talking about the bus people. The bus people were a whole new level of stupid that I can't even begin to comprehend. But anyway, let's get this woman on the goddamn ambulance and get her out of here.
About it.
So Ruth goes with the sheriff, the deputy, Leatherface, and the old lady who I don't think ever had a name. And if she did, fuck it, who cares? The orphanage mother.
Chester Bella.
Chester Bella it is. They're driving off. At this point, Dante's like, I don't care. We got to go take care of this investment opportunity. She's an old lady. She shouldn't have been here. I don't give two shits. Melody is like, we should probably give two shits, which was a weird turn for that character because before that, she didn't seem to care about anything but this investment. But now she's suddenly super concerned about.
That's why I'm saying these characters are unpredictable, even though they're extremely two-dimensional.
Unpredictable does not mean you can't understand what they're about.
Well,
but
okay.
yes.
The thing is, Dante is one of the worst human beings ever, and Melody is just slightly less worse. She's like a 90%.
Are you saying that because he's a chef? I know you have a hatred of chefs.
No, I'm saying that because he stormed into this lady's orphanage,
and
house. She lives there.
She's squatting.
No, it turns out she is not. So, spoiler, she does have the title.
They could have turned it into a hip urban orphanage where basically they have shops downstairs and an orphanage upstairs. Like they're turning all these little shopping centers into here.
And all those little urchins run the shop for them.
There you go. Child labor does not exist in Harlow.
Yeah.
Although her child labor is like 40 years old or 90 years old. How old is Leatherface supposed to be at this point?
Well, okay, it says it's 50 years ago.
He had to have been at least in his 20s in the first one.
I would say right at 20-ish.
So he's 70.
That's a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, we'll dissect Leatherface and
dissect. I like that choice of words, sir.
And his power set, because I'm very obsessed about power sets.
I know you love a good power set.
Melody wants to leave now. She's like,
this feels wrong. We probably shouldn't do this. I want to get Lila out of here. And then Dante's like, hey, we've come this far. Don't fucking puss out on me now. And she's like, but we need to at least verify that you actually own this building. So they go back to the bus. They
where
look
he
through
has
the records
all of his files
in a nice little plastic file folder.
Why did he have his files on the bus and not in their car that they drove in?
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, that's a good point too.
Also, why would you bring the physical title with you? That is very dangerous. dangerous.
Yeah, that should be in like your safe deposit box.
Yeah,
or
you
something.
bring
Copies.
Yeah, this all happens through DocuSign
Well,
now.
also, I was about to say, just pull it up on your phone, bro.
Yeah.
But of course, that old lady made me be like, that's magic. I don't trust that at all. But anyway, she had the title. So basically, at the same time as the woman's being carried out in the ambulance, the bus of investors shows up. The young millennial gentrifying kids show up to basically like buy up this town. So the bus is here.
Stop calling them millennials. They are too young to be millennials.
They are. We're
No, I
supposed
think they're
to
still
believe-
millennials.
We're supposed to believe for the millennials and the general like millennials are young in bad terms. I don't actually think that. I'm just saying in the movie we're supposed to think
The
that.
movie definitely thinks
If you
they're
think millennial, so I feel like all these people are supposed to be in their early 20s,
got a lot
right?
of
Which
young
means
people
they would
really
be born
offended
like in late 90s, early 2000s. That's all Gen Z.
I thought that they were like late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
I agree. I'm not arguing with that, but I'm saying the movie wants us to believe that like when old Republicans are like millennials are the reason cancel culture exists.
But you can call
Millennials
them-
are the reason the economy's bad.
I got you covered. Just call them youngins. The youngins
I'll
are coming
call-
in.
The youngins are coming in.
Utes.
Okay. The Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
So the Utes arrive in the bus at the same time the woman's being taken out. Jesus Christ, that was the longest way to get to this.
All right, the millennials are arriving.
Y'all are
there you
really
go.
obsessed with this millennial
Millennials
thing.
are coming. The millennials are coming.
That's what I'm saying, though. This movie, that's the weirdest thing for me in this movie, though, is that, like, they spend so much time, like, just really painting that whole, like, what's the word where something's not real, but you, like, paint it to be that way?
A straw man. They are trying to make a straw man argument against millennials.
Yes, well, a broad generalization. You know, like millennials are the catch-all term for like the young kids are the problem, and the young kids are the reason you can't have these kind of safe toys anymore. You know, like it's that kind of thing. So that when I say
millennials killed lawn darts.
Yeah, that's right. Millennials.
I'm not trying to like pin us down in exactly
All right,
who and what
fine.
are millennials, but
Continue
the movie wants us
calling
to
them.
believe this.
So they're busting in the millennials to ruin another business.
There you go. Goddamn kids.
Millennials are ruining the ghost town industry.
Yes.
And they do the auction because I haven't.
Before this, they go on the bus. He finds out that he doesn't actually have the deed to.
They don't. They do the auction first because my next note is they're selling a building and Melody goes, all right, sold to so-and-so from so-and-so's brunch. I love brunch. That's great.
Brady's brunch. Buys
I
a
love
place.
brunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that line because I tuned that shit out.
That's
I was
great. That's what she says. I was like, fucking.
I mean, I do love brunch, but you know what? I'd never say that except I just said it.
Yeah.
Shit, guys, I gotta go.
Well, the thing is that everyone loves brunch. Now lines for brunch are so long that I'm anti-brunch. I brunch at home. I'm a home bruncher.
This is what happens when you bring two millennials onto the podcast, audience. I apologize. It'll never happen again. Mark, come back. Mark, come back to the farm, Jimmy Dean.
I bet Mark's a home bruncher. Mark, when you call in, let us know about your brunch situation.
Yeah. You know what? We're going to go Mark right now. Mark, how you feel about brunch?
Well, Garrett, I'm glad you asked. I think that breakfast should be enjoyed at any time of the day, for lunch, breakfast, or dinner, so I'm a big fan of brunch. I don't like saying brunch, though. I also am a fan of brupper. That's right, breakfast supper, because breakfast tacos are my favorite food of all time. I could eat them morning, noon, and night if only my heart wouldn't give out. So you know what else you can do at brunch? It's an excuse to drink during the day, and who doesn't like that? 2 thumbs up for brunch. And now back to you.
So on the ambulance van that's driving away with the old woman and Leatherface, the deputy, the sheriff, and Ruth.
Yes.
Out of nowhere, the woman grabs Leatherface's hand and says, whatever you do, don't go in my room. Weird thing to say is your
Yes.
dying breath, but she says, don't go in my room. I thought that was going to pay off. Guess what doesn't pay off?
Yeah.
That.
That is not a Chekhov's last words. It is just a regular.
Nope.
And we also show these sheriffs terrible paramedics because they don't put her on oxygen until
They're
Leatherface does.
sheriffs, bro. They're not paramedics. This town's lucky to have a running vehicle, okay?
I feel like sheriffs should at least have basic EMT training.
Or common sense. Hey, this lady's having trouble breathing and there's an oxygen tank right here. Can't hurt.
I feel like these sheriffs are basically like, we need someone to come out and check old man Johnson's farm. I guess I'll do it. Guess what? You're a sheriff now. Like this is the training they've had. All right. It's tribal
Congratulations,
knowledge.
you've been deputized.
Yeah, there you go. Regulators mount up. So anyway, the old woman starts convulsing. She's got it. Leatherface, being the smartest of all the people in
Yes.
this vehicle, grabs the oxygen, puts it on her face, is trying to like get her to breathe. He's hitting the pole that the oxygen tank's on. Bless his heart, he's doing his best, but the pole has nothing to do with the oxygen tank, sir. So she dies. Boom. She's done.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a sad, sad moment that we gloss over instantly because the deputy goes, Sheriff, she croaked.
Yeah.
The most insensitive way to say that someone just died in front of like a loved one. And out of nowhere, he reaches out because Leatherface is kind of freaking at this point. He reaches out, grabs Leatherface's hands, and is like, hey, calm down, bud. And then we get our first kill of the movie.
It's like astonishingly good.
This is such a rad kill. So he grabs the deputy's hand, breaks his forearm in half, so the bones are sticking out like two little spikes. He takes that, jams it into the deputy's neck. So the deputy has stabbed his own neck with his arm bones. You see this all in its glory detail. Ruth is kind of like freaking out now. She's like, what the shit? And I don't remember what happens, but the sheriff
takes the deputy's gun, right? And then shoots the sheriff like through the neck or something.
Well, I think the deputy, he had gotten his gun out.
Yeah, I thought the deputy accidentally shot the gun.
Yeah, and then they're in the struggle. The deputy shoots the sheriff through the neck, though. That is true. So the sheriff loses control, crashes into farm equipment. My second favorite scene in the movie is about to come up, too. Is where Leatherface just pops up out of that fucking sunflower field.
That's also the stock image they use on Netflix, and it is the stupidest. It reminds me of the Toys cover with Robin Williams.
Yeah, I was like,
why? In that field.
Why would they film this? It is insane. But anyway...
The van drives off the road and smashes into a giant tractor that's been sitting in the sunflower seat. I almost said sunflower seat. The sunflower field.
Yeah.
Which I guess Harlow's known for its sunflowers because there's a poem that Melody sings at the beginning to one of the sheriffs. She's like, we're from here, which I thought was going to mean that Melody and Lila were related to one of the Chainsaw family members.
Would have been cool, but no. That doesn't pay off at all.
Actually, their grandfather was a chainsaw.
The Saw is family.
Long line of chainsaw families. The real question is, what is a tractor doing in a field of sunflowers? You don't harvest sunflowers.
You got to scoop up all the little seeds, bro.
Doesn't matter.
You got to scoop up the seeds to get sunflower seeds.
Oh, maybe. You know what? I don't think that's how they get sunflower seeds.
Well,
but I'm going to say
they're all in the
yes.
bulb, so they basically kind of like harvest the bulbs, and they're all there in like a little thing, and then they shake them out and shit like that.
Guys,
I don't know the
I
exact.
have a confession to make. I really don't know that much about sunflower agriculture.
Yeah, me either. I can't say that you're wrong. It feels wrong, but I'm going to say that you're right.
You know sunflower's the big orange center?
I'm familiar.
That's all the seeds just mashed together. So what they do is when they harvest those and stuff like that, they basically cut the stalks and they basically take those things and they just kind of shake it, or I don't remember exactly how they do it, but I think they shake it furiously and all the seeds come off.
Makes sense. All right.
And then they kind of basically end up in a little bag and then you kind of go through and then
you eat them.
They roast them, put some barbecue flavor on there.
Sure, there you go.
All right. So
whatever your pleasure is.
I take it back. Tractor makes sense. So then they crash. Then it cuts back to Harlow. It's age,
Harlow.
right? Harlow.
He goes Arlo?
Arlo.
Like that HBO show, Arlo.
Yeah. So they cuts back to Harlow, and Melody and Lila end up having a fight a little earlier. It's irrelevant, but basically Melody's like, "You are useless. You need me," and Lila's like, "I'm not." So she storms off.
Well, she kind of feels that way. Lila actually does. She's like, everyone thinks I can't do anything and I can't be on my own.
Well,
and
but she's mad because Melody struck a nerve.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she storms off.
She also feels like she's got survivor's guilt.
Right, big
and
time.
PTSD.
Which is like I think one of the few things they did well in this movie is they covered that pretty well. But she storms off and finds Richter. And so Richter is just, being a Texan, cleaning his guns or whatever the hell he's doing.
I think he's working on his truck with a gun laying out in the open on the workbench.
Yes. Loaded at the time.
AR-15.
Yeah, so this is just classic Texan behavior.
Poor gun safety, so 100% accurate.
Except he does, when he picks it up to show her the gun, he does take the clip out, look at the clip, make sure there's bullets in it. Then he actually checks the chamber. So this movie actually did a really good job of showing that, like, the Texans, the bad, evil Texans that we always think of, like, as the stereotypical Texans, aren't necessarily as evil and fucked up as you think.
This movie is super pro-gun.
Yeah.
Oh, very pro.
Big
if
time.
you have a problem, get a gun.
Yes. Which, obviously that is what America is all about.
Do you have trauma from gun violence? Get a gun.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, what?
One of my notes in the, later on is basically like, the only way to get over gun violence is to get a gun.
Yeah, more gun violence. But it gets its hit or miss, right? Because it's bad gun safety to just leave a loaded gun laying on a counter.
That's a good point.
Good gun safety to check the chamber before you hand it off to somebody. That is true. Which is good because then she does press the trigger. So bad gun safety on the young millennial.
It's time for another good idea, bad idea.
So yeah, she sees the AR-15 and he's like,
Have you ever held a gun before?
yes. And she goes, no, but I've been shot by one. And I was like, oh, poor Richter. He goes, drunk dad. I was like, oh, you're speaking from your own trauma there, buddy. I can tell.
Look, he said that, and I was like, I probably would have gone to the same place.
Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm from, I survived Stone Brook, whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty tough. And he's like, you want to hold it?
I thought he was going to say something dumb like, if y'all had guns, that wouldn't have happened. And I was like, please don't go with that messaging in this movie. They didn't, fortunately.
So like Garrett said, he empties the gun and hands it to her. And then she has like a flashback and we see her. And then she pulls the trigger and it like brings her back into reality.
And then we cut back to the van.
Right.
And this is where we see Leatherface out in a field doing something with the dead body of his orphanage mom. And we all know what it is. He's cutting the face off this woman.
Yeah. So like Ruth wakes up and she like sees him through the rear view mirror or side view mirror rather. I thought that was a pretty good scene. The film, the cinematography is pretty good in this movie.
This movie is gorgeous as far as lighting and atmosphere. That's what really bugged me about the fact that it was like, and it was paced really well too. Like this movie is very competently made. Shouts out to all the people who worked on this. The story is where it falls kind of weak, but yeah. So he's out there cutting the face off his mom, and then he drags her off to behind the van that we don't get to see what he's doing with the body at this point. But at this same exact moment, the sheriff starts to come too from the crash, and he's making some noise, and he's like.
So Ruth, this is important, otherwise I would just skip it. But Ruth does see the radio, and she calls in, and she's like, "I crashed." The sheriff,
is that before the sheriff wakes up? Okay.
He cuts off the face, he holds it up to like the light, and then he puts her face.
Great
on.
shot too.
Yeah, super great. And so she's like, "He's wearing her face," because once the sheriff wakes up, they all die very quick.
And Leatherface is a great craftsman here because that face fits him extremely well. Like, did he make some like ear loops from skin, because it just like snaps right on there?
Yeah, he makes little ear loops from skin.
And I know that like skin is real stretchy, but like
it's versatile.
I was impressed.
Check out my socks, you guys. That's human skin right there.
You got to think all the wrinkles too, right? He flattens those out, gives you a lot more surface area for his big ass head.
It makes you look younger.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, why are we not all wearing human skin?
Great question.
That's the
I
question.
am wearing human skin.
Yeah,
I grew it myself.
I meant real human skin. Okay.
As far as I know, that's a good. I think we all have one set. What Garrett's saying is we need a second.
You need a
set.
backup. You need a backup set of human skin.
And that's why here at GraveTalk we are offering second skin. Are you sick of your first skin? Don't worry.
I'm gonna tuck and dance any moment now.
GraveTalk.com/shop. Second skin.
Second skin. Skin suits.
Yeah.
But to be fair though, like even if that skin is stretchy as you said, and he cuts the ear holes, if you ever tried to wear a shitty paper mask or like even like a plastic bag around your ears, that shit is not tight.
And old person skin is very papery.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And think about the breathing. Like, remember like those shitty plastic masks you had as a
Halloween?
kid? Yeah. Like they were just
with the tongue slit. Do you think it made a tongue slit?
What do you think the inside of a face smells like?
Peaches and cream.
I'm gonna guess like ass.
Also, I'm gonna say
You always go with ass.
Well,
you
that's
know
because
that?
everything we ask about smells bad. So
a tongue slit is called a mouth.
yeah, it comes pre-installed on a face.
Anyway,
so she calls and it goes to the gas station, and the gas station guy's like, I need to be maximally unhelpful. So he calls Sally, all right, and she's like gutting a pig.
wait, does he call Sally?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how Sally finds out.
Because the woman is like, Ruth is like heavily breathing into the CB, and I have a note that's like, please don't heavily breathe into a CB. If you're a woman, you are going to basically get some unwanted responses in return.
At first, it looked like he was just going to ignore her, which like, okay, what a prick. But anyway, but then she says, he's wearing her face, and he's like, oh, I know who needs to handle this. And then he calls Sally. And we get
Incompetent Texas Ranger.
Yes. And we get our Sally introduction where
They're
she's
just called Texas Rangers.
yeah, incompetent. It's always implied. He's gutting a pig, and she doesn't even wash her hands. She just picks up her phone. Don't do that. Gross.
Yeah. So we cut to Sally gutting the pig.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, is I thought that was Leatherface cutting a body. And I was like, oh, wow, we just smash cut to him, like just killing people. And I was like, he's got his own little like place set up outside of town. But no, it was Sally
Butchering a swine.
Yeah, butchering. I almost said dissecting. Butchering a pig. And she looks just like old Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even try to make her different than Laurie Strode from Halloween and Halloween Kills.
And I just could not get the image of this actor out of my head from Mandy, because I mean it's the same person, but I was just like, okay, now she's gonna stab someone with a wasp. Okay, let's move along. But yeah, I couldn't unsee that, because that character is so much more vivid than this one.
Laurie Strode doesn't wear a cowboy hat, so big difference.
I know. When they put her in the cowboy hat outfit, I was just like, oh, boy.
But you know what? Laurie Strode would look
Definitely.
She should consider that.
There's nothing she can't pull off.
That's factual.
Yeah.
So she gets her guns.
Sally, grab your guns.
Yeah. She gets her old duffel bag of guns, and off she goes.
Yeah, she only uses one in the entirety of this movie.
Wait, okay. I missed that. I thought she only had one gun with her and the duffel bag was just full of stuff.
Oh, maybe it's true. They didn't say it was full of guns, but I assumed if you're going to bring a duffel bag, it would be with
I thought
arms.
it would have been a lot heavier if it was full of guns. I just figured it had like an extra
change of clothes?
extra pair of sweats or something.
Yeah. It's her post-murder celebration duffel bag.
It's just a duffel bag full of other cowboy hats. I'll never be without one. I'm a Texas Ranger. So she basically is like, it's time for vengeance, and gets in her car or truck.
I mean, it's so Halloween. He's like, he's back. I've waited 50 years for this. Like, oh, no, you haven't.
Evil dies tonight.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, you haven't.
Then we cut back to the
van.
town. Well, yeah, okay, let's do the van, and then we got to cut back to Harlow, where they find out that the deed's not there.
Right. So we cut back to the van. So, like Garrett said,
the crashed van.
The crashed van. The sheriff wakes up very loudly because he's like gasping for air. Fair enough. That gets Leatherface's attention. So he comes over and just like hammers the sheriff to death.
Smashes him with. Is he using the oxygen tank for this?
Yes, he smashes him in the face with the oxygen tank, pulls him out of the van, and then at this point just goes to town, just like smashing this dude's head into like from circular to flat.
Yeah.
it is grody. It is like heavy duty grody.
And you see the whole thing. I mean, the gore effects are amazing in this film.
We also get another one of these later on with the hammer.
In this.
So then he goes back to Ruth. So Ruth is trying to play dead, which
Ruth
totally
plays
get
dead.
it, but doesn't work.
She abandons that plan too quickly, though.
Oh, you think that's what it was?
I think so. I think if she had played dead the whole time, she would have been okay.
I agree.
Because she's trying to escape, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he snatches her back to the window.
She waits maybe maybe 2 minutes. Let's be realistic. She gives it maybe 2 minutes of like playing possum, and then she's like, I'm gonna climb over the seat out the way that the sheriff was.
And she knows that Leatherface is still in the vicinity. It doesn't seem like he's left.
She can
at
hear
this point.
him.
Yeah. So I think she did the worst option, right? She either should have left while he was busy smashing, then he wouldn't have heard her, or waited longer. But
exactly.
Yeah, she waited till he was pretty much done, back at full Leatherface attention.
Shout out to Leatherface's cardio. That dude can go for hours and not get tired.
Look,
we'll talk about the power set later. Let's wait till we get to the power set.
So he grabs her, drags her back, chokes her,
puts her back in her passenger seat, chokes her out, and then takes a piece of glass from the crash or a piece of metal.
And gives her a very much non-fatal abdominal wound from which she promptly expires.
Well, he cuts across her whole stomach. So I would say fatal without immediate attention, but she would not die immediately like she
instantly.
did.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what you're saying. I realize what you're saying on that, but like, yeah, she's like, well, my stomach's cut open. Time to die.
She lost the will to live, Garrett.
But no, you pointed that out when we were watching it. You were just like, she would not die this quick from it. And I was like, huh, you're right. She would at least be in agony for at least 30 minutes.
If I learned anything from Reservoir Dogs, you live a very long time with an abdominal wound.
And this was not even on the level of a gunshot. Like, yes, she didn't have enough abdominal fat on her for it to not touch any internal organs. But if she had had medical attention within, I would say even maybe an hour or two. This is my non-medical opinion. But
she would have bled out by then, just because that's a lot of open wound. That's a lot of, like, especially if your guts are cut open, and her guts were cut. You could see the intestines being cut. But again,
either way, she dies like immediately. She's probably just like,
Mark,
about time.
You want to chime in on this? How long do you think she had?
Well, I would say that she would probably last a couple of hours, depending how much the blood is actually flowing. So I would chime in and say probably anywhere between 30 minutes to a couple of hours.
So then it cuts back to the town.
The town of Harlow.
And we see a text message where Ruth had sent the message like, the old lady died, ellipsis, exclamation point. Okay, that's one way to put it.
that's a great set of punctuation because I picture trailing off and then making a surprise face.
And so Melody's all upset. She goes to find her sister.
At this point, she's like, we're leaving. This doesn't feel right anymore. I'm getting Lila out of here. She goes and gets Lila from Richter's shack or garage.
Yeah. And so she walks in, and Richter's just being Richter.
Richter's sitting on a bed lighting up a cigarette. Then out of the bathroom comes Lila smoking a cigarette. Now, based off movie logic, what we're supposed to assume is they fucked.
So Melody apparently thinks Lila is just DTF like in an hour because she's like, with him, really? And turns out they didn't fuck. Lila just went to the bathroom.
She's like, I didn't do anything. I'm just smoking a cigarette and hanging around with guns with a random hillbilly on a bed.
I didn't do anything yet.
Do you think she would have fucked Richter?
I mean, they seem to be bonding.
Let's go to the resident DTF girl on the podcast.
Let's go to the resident hoe.
I mean, based off what you saw, did it appear that they had sex?
I mean, I hope not, because I'm not convinced this woman is an adult.
Yeah, the age gap would have been.
Well, she
pretty
said she was
dramatic.
out of high school, so I would at least assume 18.
I graduated at 17.
Yeah, but okay, so
But age of consent in Nevada is 16.
Well, there we go.
But maybe this is just me getting older. But even at 18, it feels wrong.
Oh, it's so weird.
Because Richter is in his mid 30s, early
At
40s.
least, yeah.
But let's be honest. How much options does Richter really have in this area? I'm sure he's like, show me your ID, we're good. Like, let's just go.
Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, you know?
I agree, but I'm just saying, okay? Well, Melody pulls Lila.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting out of here. And she's like, at what point are you going to let me live my life? I'm not a kid anymore. Blah, 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 blah.
Melody tells her the old lady died, and Richter overhears this. So they're like, we are leaving right now. So they storm off to the bus, and Richter apparently sprints because he gets there right as they do, and they're like, he steals their keys.
They check the deed thing first, and then he steals
the keys because he asks them. He says, "I will give these back to you when you show me the deed."
Oh yeah, you're right.
So he takes the Tesla keys and the bus
Also,
keys.
how do you not have your keys on you? Why would you leave the keys in any ignition?
Well, Dante
ever?
had
I know,
his
but I'm
keys.
just saying in the bus they had the keys in the
weird.
ignition. It's like, yo, people never leave keys in an ignition ever.
Yes, I would totally agree with that.
Also, do you have to have keys to start a Tesla? Aren't they like?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you have to have at least like a fob or
Yeah,
something.
it's not
Okay.
like a old school key. It's a push start,
Okay.
But
I know nothing about
They have
Teslas.
a crank starter on the front.
I also thought they needed gas, so clearly I don't know shit about Teslas.
you got to give him a push start from the top of a hill.
Now, to be fair, I have no problem.
the clutch.
I have no problem with what Richter did here.
I do. He's just stole 2 cars.
No,
and a
he
bus.
didn't steal cars. He basically said, you came into this place, you fucked with an old lady that you didn't know for certain that you should have been fucking with. I need proof that this shit, that you didn't just fucking like make this lady like
Who
croak.
make Richter the fucking guardian of the
The
town?
bank and Dante.
But also, like, my issue here.
He's like the Dark Knight
He
of
just
Harlem.
kidnapped a bunch of people, is what he did.
No,
if
he
you
didn't
bring
kidnap.
if you take someone's ability to leave away, you have kidnapped
Look,
them.
the sheriff and the deputy are dead. There's no law left in this town, okay? He is the law.
But like, also, even though, yes, she had a heart attack at the time, what's to say she wasn't about to have a heart attack in 20 minutes anyway?
That's true. That's Dante's logic. He says,
Yeah.
we didn't kill her. Heart disease killed her.
I'm kind of with Dante on this. Dante's an asshole, but I'm kind of with him on this one.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't look like she was in peak physical condition.
No, she looked like she was about ready to keel over, and they just, like cranked the egg
Yeah.
timer a little closer to 0.
That thunderstorm that comes in could
Okay,
have done
we'll talk about the thunderstorm in just a second, but I totally missed the chance to say, like, I have a note that says he just defaced her corpse. I forgot to mention that. And then, like, Leatherface was cutting the old lady's face off.
I'd like to take his face off.
So Dante's like, no problem. Let's go on the bus. That's where I keep all of the actual titles.
That's where I keep all of my important paperwork.
Yes, on a bus. And he goes through and he's got him, in like an accordion folder. And oh shit, he can't find it. He's like, oh, it must still be in Austin.
The one slot for orphanage is empty. And I was just like, bro, you should have noticed that right away.
And he's like, oh, it must be in Austin because some of the deeds took longer to get here. So I only brought a random
Well, I
collection
guess
of
he
them.
would keep them with them because at the auction you would sign it over at that
You'd
point.
go back to Austin in your office.
Yeah,
and
you
sign
need a
it.
notary
It's
for that
7
shit.
hours away, bro.
Yeah.
You're not driving.
Do you think the bus driver is also a notary?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Oh, that would make good sense.
Yeah, you can't just like give someone a deed and be like, here, it's yours now. You have to sign that over. But anyway, and pay taxes on these sales. Like, it's a whole thing. You don't just like go to an auction and walk out.
It's a
owning
gentleman's
house.
agreement. I hadn't shaken a smile.
There you go. I mean, you're right. You know what? The cops are dead. No laws.
There is no law in Harlow anymore, all right? Anything goes. knows? I love Dante's response though when he realizes it's missing though. Like his face is like this kind of panic, and then he does a really good job of conveying the oh shit. But he's trying to make excuses with his voice, but his face tells a very shout out to the actors in this. I feel like everyone did a very, very good or at minimum competent job.
I agree.
Of conveying their emotions, their feelings. No one seemed to ruin it with their acting in any form or fashion.
Yeah, this scene really took me back to the time I was at the grocery store and I was in the checkout and I realized I didn't have my wallet.
You were feeling that.
Yeah,
you were feeling
just
that.
felt my stomach drop.
Quick question though, what do you do in that situation? Do you say, "Can you hold my groceries? I'll go get it," or do you basically go like, "I got to go put all this back"?
At HEB, they're just like, "Oh no, we'll ring it all up. Here's the receipt. We'll leave it right here. Run and get your wallet, and then you can just scan the receipt at the customer service desk and pay for it there."
What?
That's right. HEB way.
That's great. Fucking HEB.
It was extremely convenient, especially because I live like 5 minutes from the grocery store.
Evidently, you can also forget your wallet, and they can take a picture of. You can send a picture of your card, and they can actually type it in manually. Like, evidently, that's something they can do. HEB. God, is there anything they won't do for us? They're so great.
Honestly, HEB is the reason I survived the
Come to
pandemic.
Texas. We've got HEB.
It's true.
We've also got a lot of gun violence and Leatherface killers, but we've got HEB. It balances out.
It's a mixed bag, but you know what?
Where isn't?
Yeah. Can't have rainbows without the rain, right?
Speaking of the rain, nice segue, John.
Thank you.
On the horizon, we see a very, very dark storm rolling in out of nowhere while the auction's still going on.
Yeah, you could tell like, oh shit, storm is coming because it's like West Texas and like the Great Plains it's whatever the plot needs
Look,
it to be.
if you don't like the weather in Texas, stick around for 5 minutes and it'll change. I hate that fucking
yeah,
saying.
and it's also not that accurate in the realist. Like I've lived some places where it is.
And also, that saying exists in every state,
I'm about
and
to say-
every state thinks it's theirs.
Yes, it's so dumb.
You don't like the weather on Earth.
Some aliens like, you assholes, we invented that.
Yeah,
You don't like Earth? Wait a couple billion years.
that's it. Sun's getting bigger, so
This is Mark, you got to come back, man. It's descended into madness here.
So Lila's like, look, if we have the title, then it can't be in the house. And they're like, fucking way to go, Nancy Drew. So they're like,
But also, you can't prove a negative. So the only thing they would be able to say if they didn't find it in the house is, we couldn't find it.
Right.
Not that it's not there.
It's worth a shot, though.
because they're trapped. 'Cause
And
they've been
also, why
kidnapped.
wouldn't you want to dig through an old lady's orphanage after she died?
'Cause
There's
it
got to be
smells
some
like dead
cool.
skin in
There's
there.
going to be some cool shit in there.
Yeah, you know what? Thinking this through now, the reason she tells
some
Leatherface to
headcanon?
stay out of her room is because that's where the chainsaw is when it's in the wall.
But okay. Oh,
But anyway,
God.
we'll get
okay,
there.
no, yeah, we gotta talk about that
So-
because I have so many problems with
Melody and Dante are like, okay, we're gonna go find it. This house is huge, but the two of us can do it. Lila, for no reason, you stay on the bus. You are not allowed to come. Sit down. So off they go to the house. Now they look for the title,
that. And they find it.
like instantly.
They
Like, in
go
5
right to
minutes.
the music box or whatever it is, and Melody opens it up and she's like, Shazam! There it is.
Ridiculous.
Now they hear a noise though at this point.
So I guess Leatherface like jogged back into town.
Again, that cardio is amazing with this dude.
Astonishing. So, and he's in the house now.
Leatherface in the house. Yeah. So Dante is downstairs looking around. Melody is upstairs looking in the old lady's room, and that's what she finds. She opens it up. She sees loose Q-tips, a hairbrush. Then she finds the deed, and she's like, "Oh my God, we're in the wrong." And then she yells out for Dante. Dante's downstairs in the kitchen, and he's like kind of looking in the kitchen for the deed. What a fucking dumb choice.
Well, he's the guy who also keeps him on a bus. So he's like, you know what?
This
kitchen makes sense. Yeah.
Well, he's a chef. Maybe that's his natural habitat.
Sometimes people like to hide important things in the freezer.
Oh,
I'm gonna look in
okay.
your freezer. I'm gonna find
You're gonna find titles.
I'm gonna find my Christmas presents and a bunch of documents.
And a whole lot of waffles.
And so he's in there and he hears a noise behind him and he like looks up and in the reflection of a pot that's hanging, he sees Leatherface
That
behind
was a pretty
him.
good shot.
Very creepy, very impactful. And then he turns around and Leatherface at this point just, I don't know if he grabs him or throws him, but he chunks him across the room at this point. And then Leatherface walks over, grabs a meat cleaver.
Yep.
As Dante stands up to go away, meat cleaved, which it looked like you see from behind. Like you're looking at the back of Dante and you see the meat cleaver bit slashed across the front. I thought he slashed his throat open.
Me too.
So did I.
Because he falls on the floor and starts bleeding.
And one thing I did like is they have this like swinging door. And each time it swings open, you see Leatherface fucking him up a little more.
That was a very, very cool, like, visual. So Dante is bleeding, what we would assume is officially bleeding out on the floor. Because if
Yes.
it's a neck wound, that dude's definitely bleeding out in like a minute or two.
once we see his wound, he also should have bled out. But
It's
anyway,
so much cooler. I don't think he would have bled out.
No, I think that's a really survivable wound.
Yes.
And I will
yeah, for
explain
hours.
why.
Okay, when we
Yeah.
get there,
We'll get there in just a second. So
Okay.
at this point, Melody's like, Dante? And she's going to go look and see what's going on. And,
That's exactly what she sounds like too. Is that a recording?
I practiced this all week just to make sure I was ready for this moment.
Oh, it's like coming in stereo. Astonishing.
We've got Leatherface live in studio with Melody. So I would love if Leatherface sounded like Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
So at this point, she's like, oh my God, what is that? And she hears Leatherface walking up the stairs. So Leatherface is upstairs with Melody at this point.
Yes.
And they're like, uh-oh, what do I do? So she's going to escape. She's going to get past Leatherface, who has now gone into the old lady's room. But earlier in the movie, we saw her step on these floorboards and it creaked. So to avoid creaking the floorboard, she's going to climb over the
We
stair
skipped a
ramp.
bunch of stuff here because she's hiding under the bed and then Richter comes in.
So
Oh, yeah. I forgot the order of
She
that.
goes to find Dante. She sees Dante dead. She sees Leatherface. She runs back upstairs into the old lady's room. So she very wisely hides under the bed.
To be fair, though, we give movie people a lot of shit for this, where they like run upstairs away from the danger instead of trying to like fucking Allen Iverson like fake out and break the ankles of the killer. Honestly, I don't blame people for running the opposite way of trouble. Like, even though it's upstairs and it's the worst idea ever, it's still one of those things where, like, you're not going to be like, I think I can outmaneuver
Well,
him.
it's all about context, right? And like in the context of, yes, the monster figure is between you and the front door. It makes sense. It is when they pass the front door unobstructed.
Yes, that's
to run
true.
some upstairs where it makes no sense.
I'll come back for you later.
Yeah. So in this case, yeah, it made sense. She goes back upstairs. She hides under the bed. Leatherface doesn't know she's there.
Was it you, Alex, that pointed out while we were watching this that her feet were just hanging out the side of the bed?
Like, her feet were still fully illuminated because this bed is really high off the ground. So by that logic, because the angle of his eyes would be similar to the angle that the light is being cast, he would 100% have been able to see her under there.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Well, another plot hole. But somehow she does not.
Maybe the extra face is messing with his peripherals.
Oh, yeah. Or he has T-Rex vision. As long as she's staying still, you can't see her.
Maybe he just thought it was a pair of shoes.
Yeah, that's it. You know, oh, there's my orphanage mom's weird mannequin doll under her bed
Well, he goes and sits down,
and applies at her
makeup, and like the worst apply, he just takes a handful of it and just smears it up his cheek, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Homer Simpson makeup gun style.
After he applies his makeup, he goes and gets his chainsaw.
She says, don't go in my room.
Yes.
And I guess we're to assume don't go in the room because the chainsaw exists
That's my
in there.
only, like, it's a tenuous link, but that's the only thing I can
That's
think
my
of.
assumption as
Yeah.
well.
Well, she says also one thing we forgot to say. She says, continue to be a good boy.
Yes.
Like, so basically, I guess the assumption is we're supposed to say that, like, when he got into the orphanage, she basically told him, like, you don't have to be a psycho deranged killer. Just be a good boy. You don't need that. You don't need your toys anymore. You're okay. Once she croaked, boom. Set him back off into the old school mode. But like he goes in the room and starts tearing open the wall. And we're like, what the fuck is this all about? I had no idea what he was doing at first. But he pulls the chainsaw out of the wall, which means A, who put it in the wall? The old lady?
Yes.
Why didn't they
That's-
just
there you go.
throw it in the trash?
Great question.
Take it to the pawn shop.
Yeah. Did you see there's no Lowe's or anything? So if they had to do actual chainsawing, they're like, we better keep this for non-murderous chainsawing.
Just
It's like
in
the
case.
drunk
Yeah.
drawer. You never know you're going to need those extra paper clips.
There's
so-
nothing worse than needing a chainsaw and not having one.
Sometimes a tree falls across your driveway.
Yep.
But there's a whole town. Go put it somewhere else. Don't put it in the wall of your room, which was so weird. I was like, so someone had to put it in the wall. Someone had to stucco up the wall. Someone had to re-wallpaper the wall.
Yeah.
And then, and it was the old lady? Like,
And
that's-
also, he knew right where it was. Like, maybe
Again.
don't tell him.
Yeah, that would also
That's like
true.
when you like hide the porn magazines in your house and it's like, don't go in that chest by the end of the bed. You're like, I know what the porn magazines
That's
are,
like when
bro.
people
We're
come
going.
over to my house and I'm like, don't look in my freezer.
I've got
Whatever
documents
you
and
do.
waffles. So yes, he gets his chainsaw. Bada bing, bada boom. Leatherface has his baby back. And he is ready to roll.
Ready to go. So then it cuts to
all gassed up and everything.
Yes.
Right, naturally. And gas does not go bad.
Never.
Well, I assume every couple of months she knocked down the wall, put some gas stabilizer in it, replastered it. It was a whole thing.
That's that John headcanon for you right
Well,
there.
if you go in the next room and open like the medicine cabinet, the chainsaw's just right there. So I don't
There's
even know
just
why
a
he
tube you
busted
can
the
pour
wall.
gas into.
Yes.
Hey, Mark here, cutting in. I got something to say about this. Sometimes people hide the murder weapon, right? So if this is a situation where Leatherface was hiding the murder weapon from the killings in the 70s, like you would say a gun to match the bullet, are we thinking here that chainsaw teeth leave a specific mark that anyone could find out? Yep, that goes to the John Deere 89 model. I don't think so. I don't know why he put that in the wall. Anyway, back to you.
So yes, he's got his chainsaw, and at this point, Dante is now up and about.
Right.
He walks out of the house, and I was confused. I was like, "How the hell? If your neck got cleaved, you are dead, bro.
And
You bled out."
We only see it from behind, so we haven't seen
and
his
it
injury
is
yet.
full on raining now in this town.
Yes.
So all the investors are on the bus having a party bus moment.
Yep.
Richter walks out of his shack and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you in that house?
Even though this man is clearly covered in blood.
I guess 'cause
even
it's
from the
raining,
back.
though.
No,
I mean, he
even with the
He
rain,
has
you
blood
could
all over the back
see-
of his shoulder.
Yeah.
admit once he sees his face, he does switch from real dick mode to concern mode pretty quick.
He does change gears.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah, but it doesn't take seeing someone covered in blood to be like, maybe I shouldn't just go out straight up dick mode.
well, no, for Richter apparently it does.
He spins
More like
Dante
Dictor.
around and
Love it. Yes. So
and Dante's face is like his mouth is slashed open.
his whole
like,
cheek up to like his ear is missing.
yeah, it's like gashed wide open. The jaw is like kind of half hanging. It is grody gruesome, and I love that.
It's
But
super
survivable.
gross. Yes. The reason I say this is survivable because my sister, before she went to medical school, she was an ER tech, and it was not a super uncommon injury to see someone come into the ER who had been like usually fallen on something and had the like bottom of their chin impaled up into their mouth, which is not a dissimilar injury to this.
fair enough.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's like really gruesome, but it's not particularly life-threatening."
Well, if you think about your jawbone and everything, like there's not a lot of blood vessels. It's just loose skin, a little bit of muscle and
All
bone
right.
there. So if you slash that open, sure, you've got a very massive gaping wound that's going to get infected and
You
kill
are
you.
going to have a speech impediment for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Skin
or
graft. big
full
time.
recovery. You never know.
Maybe.
But probably speech impediment.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like you see this and you're just like, what the fuck? And so Richter's like, holy shit, what
Who
happened?
did this to you?
Okay. Who did this to you? You live in Harlow. You know this giant dude. Everyone knows the tale of the 5 kids who were killed by, or the 4 kids who were killed by the chainsaw wielding monster.
Yeah, but there are a bunch of city liberals in the town. Could have been any one of them.
Also, it's super cruel to ask a question to someone whose mouth is half unhinged.
You know what?
Tell me who did this.
I'm not the-
No, I'm not doing anything to you. Tell me who did this.
I'm not the biggest Dictor fan, but he's panicking. I get it. I mean, I feel like if I saw someone in this situation,
Look, he's
I would
got more
also,
worries on his mind. He may have just had sex with an underage girl, okay?
I would also ask them questions just because it's natural, right? Who is the dumbest character in this movie is behind Dante is another girl with like an umbrella.
It's the head
the
lady
bank.
from the investors.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like the one that brought them all out on the party bus.
So stupid. Because Richter's like, go back in the bus, tell everyone to stay in the bus. Obviously there's a murderer out here. So she goes back to the bus and she's like, we should all stay in here. Just trust me. Like, bitch, tell them somebody just died out there. You want to stay safe in the bus and don't let anyone in.
That was Catherine, Jessica Alain.
Okay, well, Catherine got everyone on that bus killed because she's an idiot.
Also, not to sound crude, best ass in the movie. She looked gorgeous in her outfit.
Okay.
I thought she looked so good. And also, I love a clear umbrella.
Yeah,
I
I
know
am
it's
pro
so
clear
dumb, but
umbrella.
I just love that concept.
It was a very cute vibe altogether.
Yeah.
Like she had great hair, cute umbrella.
If
nice
she
outfit.
offered me an investment opportunity, I would hear her out.
Yeah, she's going to tell you about NFTs.
She's going to try to sell you a timeshare.
I would buy them all.
Well, great at selling, terrible at keeping people alive.
Listen, we all have skills.
So she runs back to the bus.
Yeah.
This point, Richter goes up into the house.
Right. And so he's like clearing the rooms, and she's super smart. I got to give Melody mad props.
She tries
here.
to scale the banister to get out.
No, not yet.
God
No,
damn.
she tries to move the mirror with her foot
yes.
from under the bed.
Oh yeah,
so
because Leatherface is hiding behind the door
Yeah,
when Richter
right.
runs in. She moves the mirror to show him where it is. If I was Leatherface, I would have been like, "Why is that mirror moving? There's someone under the bed."
I'd be like, I'm going to chop that foot off.
Yeah, right. But Richter's like, what the fuck? And Leatherface attacks him. They get in a fight.
They have a great badass fight
One
here.
of the most gruesome things in a very gruesome movie when he whacks Richter in the knee with his hammer and
And it
his
goes the
leg just
opposite
completely
way.
hyperextends.
Yes.
Yep. I love how like that's so rough, and I'm like, yo, everything else was way worse. But yes, I know knee injuries are so hard to watch.
And you can see his leg just 45-degree angle.
Yep.
Like just gross.
So they're on the ground now, and at this point, he sees Melody under the bed, and he's like, holy shit.
So he gets stabbed in the neck, and he's smart enough, though, in his last dying breath, he tries to redeem himself. He gives her the keys.
Well, he kind of drops them.
Well, he's dying. He's doing the best he can.
Yeah.
I think he got them off his belt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so...
Shout outs to Richter.
He's doing the best he can. Then, yes, his head just gets caved in with a hammer. I guess it's the meat cleaver. It's the meat cleaver that they used to kill.
No, this was a hammer.
Was it
this,
a
this
regular
It's
hammer?
like
This is like a giant like sledgehammer
Bam.
thing.
Just, and you see his whole face just cave in.
No, you see his face continually get crushed further and further in, and they just say, "Hey, you know what we should do? Let's just keep this bad boy in frame."
I had to bail out of that. I had to look away.
It was tough.
That one's always rough to watch. Like when Halloween 2018 came out, and he stomps the doctor's head in. I was
Yeah.
just like, "Holy shit!" They showed that, but yes, it's that level of gruesome. So at this point, Leatherface hears the party bus, and he's like, "Not in my neighborhood, you rascally kids."
Don't they know about the noise ordinance?
So at this point,
I got 2 sets of ears. This is real loud.
Melody is gonna like, now's my chance to escape with the keys. So she goes out there, but she's like, these floors are creaky. He'll hear me. I'll climb over the banister in these smooth flats and stand on this smooth wooden banister. And she slips. And lo and behold, she makes some noise, and she's on the stairs, and she stands up, looks at the top of the stairs. There's Leatherface. He throws the sledgehammer, hits her in the chest. She flies back like maybe 5-10 steps down to the floor.
Straight through the damn floor.
Through the damn floor, which makes me think that there's no way Leatherface, being his size, could have walked across these floors and not fallen through into the basement.
That young lady was like 110 pounds. She
Wet.
she's dead.
That
her
wasn't
rib-
sexual. I'm just saying wet, like ring.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
No
I
one
wanna
thought that was
clarify.
sexual until you tried to clarify that.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify.
She is dead. A sledgehammer. Most of her
cracked at
ribs are
minimum.
broken.
As someone who's broken ribs from less, her ribs are broken.
Yes, you don't get a chainsaw, a sledgehammer thrown at your
Chainsaw
chest,
thrown at you.
fall down 10 stairs and crash through floors and just get up. But she does.
And so she's under the house at this point. And now we get the same thing we get in almost every chainsaw movie that I am over, is the chainsaw through the floorboards as you crawl below the floor, and it chases you. I get it. It's iconic. It's scary, but like we've seen it like 90 times at this point.
And we have the Prometheus problem here where she just keeps scrambling along in a straight line instead of turning.
Yeah.
Rolling to the side, perhaps.
Left and right exist.
And this is the least believable. That chainsaw cuts right through just a solid 2x4 in like half a second. That is just not how chainsaws work.
And even the best of them.
Yeah, and he's lucky there wasn't a knot in that wood, or he would have just gotten totally fucking jammed up.
Oh, and that chainsaw is probably throwing nails everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about the nails. That's true. It
Just ripping them out of the floorboards and slinging them right back.
somehow
at him.
chain does not fall off. He must have super glued that chain on there.
So we had a big long discussion about like chainsaw parts and how they work and how like different like things break, and we got into a really in-depth conversation about chainsaws as we were watching this, because we're like, there's no fucking way.
No, I mean,
But again, I'm willing to let that go because it's Leatherface.
yes, I mean, for the sake of the movie. But listeners, if you don't use a chainsaw a lot, they are not nearly as effective as they show in this movie.
But this chainsaw, because as she's trying to escape from under the house, she gets to kind of a like vent thing on the side of the house. And right as she does...
And Lila's outside of it.
And Lila's outside. And right as she does, the chainsaw cuts through this thick
sewage pipe.
Well, I was just going to say, like, the chainsaw could not cut through that pipe, first of all. It cuts
not
through
like
it
butter.
Like butter. And then she gets doused in liquid shit.
Yeah.
Lila does manage to finally get the grate off because the first 3 attempts she tried to pull it off weren't enough. But this time she finally does and pulls
yeah.
I mean, it probably
Melody
would be
out.
difficult to get it off. I get it. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised she got it off at all.
Yeah, me too.
They don't apparently screw their grates down. It does cut to Sally, but she's not at the town yet. She goes to the accident.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Because I was like, I got Sally notes here. What were these about?
And that's where we see orphanage mom like posed on a hay bale with her face off.
And shout outs to my man Leatherface for at least giving her a nice little like scenic like
that was
pose.
some true artistry.
Yeah.
He cares,
He's
and
a
that's what's
creative-
important.
He's a creative guy.
But this is the thing: is we see Sally go back to the car, and she keeps looking at this like Polaroid picture that was taken of the original 5 characters from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who took this photo? Because they're all in the frame.
But it opens up another plot hole. But the first time they pick up in the first movie, they pick up a hitchhiker who has a Polaroid camera who takes a photo of them and then tries.
Okay, I did not remember that part. I was like, who the fuck took this picture?
But what makes no sense is they try to charge him. So the hitchhiker wants money. They say no. He sets a picture on fire.
Oh.
And the picture is gone. It is in ashes. That's so where did this picture come
Maybe
from?
this was second hitchhiker, second Polaroid.
Maybe. Okay, fair.
This is a common occurrence. You find Polaroid hitchhikers. Texas is littered with them.
It was a big thing in the 70s, Polaroid hitchhikers.
But anyway, she keeps looking at this picture as if like, I got you. Don't worry. I'll make it right. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who the fuck cares at
I'm
this
doing
point?
this for you, Franklin.
Oh, yeah. It's so...
Oh, yeah, Franklin.
Which, rewatching, like I said, I watched the first one right before this. Don't do that, because it just makes this one make even less sense. Because they did not seem to particularly like each other in that first movie.
No.
In fact, she just wants to leave Franklin behind at the van and go find her real friends, and she's real pissed that Franklin won't give her the flashlight.
John, let's get this out of the way real fast, just so we can reiterate it. The 2003 remake is far superior to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know I'm going to get heat for saying this, but I know you agree with me.
Oh, big time. I was going to save it for the end, but let's jump on in. 2003 Texas Chainsaw, the best one. Then the original.
It's so scary,
Then everything
so
else.
intense, so well paced. It's got a great, complete, comprehensive story. There's like next to no plot holes in it.
Yeah, because it's barely a story. It's exactly what you want. A bunch of teens get brought to this house and murdered.
I feel like next to no plot holes is kind of damning with faint praise, but I really like it nonetheless.
In the horror business,
Yes.
that's a very good thing.
Minimal plot holes.
The 2003 banger of a film. One of my favorite horror movies.
Great-looking, creepy. Arlie Emery is fantastic. Everyone's
Excellent,
fantastic in it.
yeah.
And I don't even like the main actress,
And
but
they do a great job of making Leatherface very intimidating and imposing, but unlike this movie, not fucking supernatural.
Yes.
Yes,
So now we cut back to the township of Harlow.
The sisters get on the bus. They're like,
Just like that.
Yeah.
Huh?
And everyone's like, what's happening? And they're like, you don't even want to know. Believe me.
And how hard is it to say someone just killed a bunch of people with a fucking chainsaw and a hammer? We need to get out of here.
That's why I'm covered in blood and shit.
Or look at me. What the fuck do you think happened? So they're like, all right, let's get out of here. And actually really don't understand what happened because the bus driver starts driving the bus and then we see Leatherface in an alley and then he goes, we hear some bangs and then the bus stops.
I can answer this.
Okay, what
so
happened?
the bus they're like, oh my God, we do got to get out of here. Now, everyone in the back of the bus doesn't give two shits about anything that's going on. They're still
Right.
at a party. The bus driver starts driving and he's driving slow. And as they pass the alley, you see the silhouette of Leatherface
Yes.
in the alley with his chainsaw revving. Great, beautiful shot. The bus is driving by. He goes out there and he chainsaws the back tire. As the bus is going by, he chainsaws the back tire because you kind of hear this like bah, 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 bah,
Yeah.
bah, bah, on the bus. So basically, he cut the double back tires of the bus so it just can't drive properly. So the bus driver, some 20-ish, 30-something dude, basically stops the bus, gets out the bus, goes back to see what it is, and then the next thing you know, we see his head chunked into the bus. Now, you got to appreciate the bank shot that Leatherface does. He throws it to where it bounces off and lands right perfectly in visual frame.
So well done. Leatherface also missed out as like a sports person. I don't know.
He plays quarters. He's all about that. It's him, Michael Jordan, and that dude with the white hair from The Last Dance.
You don't want to go up against him in horse, I'll tell you that.
Athlete was
He'll
the
hit
word
it
I was
every
looking
time.
for.
Yeah.
Sports person, athlete, you know. You knew what I meant. And then he gets on the bus.
Get on the bus.
And everyone is first. They all bring out their cameras or their phones
And start Instagram living this.
Yes, which I totally believe would happen. I was like, all right, yeah, that is.
See, that's
accurate.
such a foreign thing to me, and I know that's so common, but like it's such a foreign thing to me to like I'm seeing something. Let me start live streaming. Now I'm glad that happens because we get to see we get to blow the lid off fucking police brutality and all this other shit like that. But at the same time, I see anybody wearing a human face get on a bus, my phone is gone. Like, if it's not in my pocket, I'm out.
But here's the thing. If someone rolled up on your bus wearing a human face, you would assume he was wearing a costume.
Yeah.
Anyone would assume he was wearing a costume.
With the chainsaw?
Because they didn't
I'm
see
not risking it.
They didn't see the head, right? So I think it is important to note between the front of the bus where the driver is and where all these people are is a curtain. So they didn't see anything that happened in the front of the bus.
But you just saw Melanie and Lila coming covered in shit and blood. And then a dude with a chainsaw gets on. Guess what? I'm dumb when it comes to math, but I can run those numbers. Okay. But yes, so they all just kind of like, hey, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't remember the line, but this is the line we talked about in the last episode.
It's in the trailer. It's like, don't try anything, bro, or you'll get canceled. Like, shut up.
The worst. Oh, my God.
And it just shows like such a
this 40-year-old man threatened to cancel a chainsaw-wielding monster man.
Yeah. And it's like such a misunderstanding of even what like quote-unquote canceling is. Like, it doesn't make any sense in the context of the real world. Like, no one would say that sentence.
Leatherface is on Tucker Carlson a week later. Well, you see, I just can't chainsaw anymore because these damn millennials.
Like, oh, you're going to cancel Leatherface's Instagram? Like, you're getting him kicked off Twitter? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You guys just invested in Harlow. Maybe don't put it in a bad light.
Right. So Leatherface just starts chainsawing everybody.
And this is great because I love when choreographers and stuff like that, whatever stunt people can do a scene that's in a tight, close quarters and make it look impressive, intense, and not like everyone's 20 feet away from each other. Like it looks like it's actually like some John Wick shit.
It's like a real old boy hammer fight.
Yeah. Dude, nice reference. Damn, I forgot about that. Yeah. That's a good one. But like I was really impressed with the kills on this bus and how it all played out. I thought this was beautiful.
And you might be wondering, why didn't they use the rear exit? Because it was broken.
Yeah, and our two sisters hide in the bathroom during all of this carnage, and
which I thought was a room with a tub in it at first because I didn't get a good view on it. And I was like, why does this bus have a tub room? And I was like, I'm in.
Well, you have a bath fixation, so I can't blame you.
Yeah, it's a very fancy bus. That's the thing. No, just a regular old toilet.
It's a hot tub on the back of the bus.
And I think our kind of coup de grace kill here is, I believe, Catherine, was that her name? Clear Umbrella Girl. She tries to get out through a broken window, but Leatherface saws her in half through the torso.
Right above the waist.
Right above the waist. And so then we get a shot from the outside of the bus where her intestines just slither down out the window. It was very disgusting.
Good disgusting.
Yeah, it was extremely gruesome and effective.
Yeah.
Tremendous. So the sisters, like Alex said, are in the bathroom, and this bathroom has an emergency exit.
In the ceiling.
Which most bus actually do have ceiling exits.
Yeah, in case the bus rolls.
In the bathroom, though? They're normally just in the main hallway.
I would assume that maybe in the bathroom, because if you're stuck in the bathroom and the bus rolls, you still need to be able to get out. But I'm not certain. Don't quote me.
Yeah.
I'm more knowledgeable on chainsaws than I am buses.
They get out the bus.
But first, we get our payoff. Leatherface starts sawing through the door, and the younger sister is out the ceiling at this point. And so she's trying to pull up the older sister, but she can't make it because Leatherface is like sawing through the door. And so she pulls out the corkscrew from the first scene in the movie and stabs him in the arm with this corkscrew, which is enough to buy her the time to get out the ceiling.
Now this I thought was a little cheesy because it's the chainsaw corkscrew going into Leatherface with the chainsaw.
In his chainsawing arm.
And she stabs him in the arm. I want to say maybe the elbowish area.
Yeah. It's Yeah, kind of forearm-ish.
But he recoils as if like, my God, kryptonite, how dare you? And then he pulls it out. But like he recoils enough to like give them enough time to leave.
Yeah.
There's a scene later on in the movie where Sally stabs him with a Bowie knife in the side and he just kind of stares at her like, eh. And I was like, there is no consistency to his power set at this point. And let's just go ahead and talk about the power set, John. I know you've been chomping at the bit.
I know. I'll tell you, if you want to poke plot holes, though, the fact that this chainsaw is cutting through 2x4s and pipes and then getting stuck by like particle board that is the bathroom doors of a fucking Greyhound bus. But anyway, yes. So Leatherface's power set in this movie now consists of super strength, immortality.
Which he's always kind of had, though. He's always had like that crazy hardcore strength.
He's been strong for a human. He's not like breaking your wrists and your bones popping out. I mean, because we like the most fancy thing we see.
Here, give me your arm. I'll show you how easy it is.
And the most fancy thing we see him do in the first movie is just like pick somebody up, right? He just picks him up under his arm and walks with him, which is feasible. I mean, a human could do that, but he's super strong. He's immortal. Except for chainsaws, which is his kryptonite, chainsaw corkscrews, impervious to pain,
infinite stamina.
Yes, never, especially for a 70-year-old man. Bulletproof,
really fast.
Well, he's not bulletproof, but he takes a bullet like nobody's business.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to his immortality. He's indestructible.
It takes a pet like no problem.
Yeah, he can leap tall. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound.
It's not that bad, but yes, you're right. In this, he does have like Michael Myers level like imperviousness to certain types of pain, but only when it's convenient.
Yes.
Which is so weird because it's so inconsistent.
No, it's more than impervious. He is immortal. Because we see you cannot get shot as much as he do and then fucking uppercut with a chainsaw, drown in a pool,
and this is after getting stabbed in the side with a Bowie knife.
And then just get up and like 3 hours later decapitate somebody.
Spoilers for the end of this movie. Yes, that is exactly what happens. They kept going Michael Myers with it.
Yes.
And the thing is, I hate that. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't hate this movie like that, but I'm saying like, I hate when people try to ape off that fucking Michael Myers shit because that's what makes Myers so creepy. That's why he's my favorite slasher is that dude is supposed to be like, is this dude supernatural? Because that is not human, bro.
Yeah.
Like this is insanity. Like it's supposed to seem like it, but it's not. Leatherface has always just been a dude.
Yes.
There's nothing supernatural about Leatherface.
It's considerably less impressive that he's supernatural than if he was just a crazy cannibal, which, by the way, he's not a cannibal anymore, as far as we know. He doesn't eat anybody.
Well, he reformed his ways.
Oh,
Mama Orphanage kind of got him to kind of pull it all back.
Reformed cannibball. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's less impressive to me that, you're just now another monster dude. Like,
but his run was so good in this with a thump, 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 thump,
Sure.
thump. Like he did the guy who played Leatherface in this had such a great presence.
But now he's just a generic dude, right? He's just up there with like
he's just a generic monster, man.
Right. What made them like that unique was the crazy family, and they were cannibals, and they were just people doing crazy shit for no reason. Also, they gave him a revenge story, right? Effectively, we're led to believe he's killing all of these people because they killed his orphanage mom. Don't need that. I don't need to humanize this monster.
I have that note in my notes of like, well, why has he gone back to basically being a murderous monster? I understand the whole revenge kind of thing,
Yes.
but now he's killing everybody.
Because he's not, though, because when in a few scenes when he meets Sally, he doesn't kill her. He just walks by her. He is only killing.
Let's get to this. Let's get to that then, because we definitely like, again, there's just so much like questions I have. And the thing is, I should never question your monster's motive. I should either have no idea and just accept it. That's the way it is. Or I should know exactly why he's doing what he does.
Right. But yeah, I don't like that he's supernatural now. I think it takes like a lot of the uniqueness of what makes Texas Chainsaw just sucks it right out of the movie. And now it's just a generic monster movie that takes place in Texas.
So this is the part where Sally rolls up though, right?
Yes. As they're limping away from the bus, Sally pulls up and tells them to get in the car because she was going hunting or whatever.
Yeah, and this is the part where he confronts her, John, to like what she was saying. He's like,
Yeah.
do you remember me? Because she's got the shotgun.
So after he killed everyone in the bus, but he lets the sisters escape.
Well, they escape. They don't even let 'em.
Right. He goes back to the somewhere. I don't know where he goes because
Does it go back in the orphanage?
I guess it's the orphanage.
Yes, he turns the light on upstairs because Sally gets out, sees the light turn on because they're like, let's get out of here. And she's like, no, he's here after you.
Evil dies tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, she might as well chant it 17 times.
Sally is a I'm gonna say, a textured character, right? Because she looks at this.
She's all fucked up. Just say it.
Well, no, because she looks at this Polaroid as if she wants to kill Leatherface as revenge for her friends. But when she finally meets him, what she really wants is revenge for herself. Because she's like, say you remember me. You know who I am, right? And Leatherface is like, bitch, who are you?
I met you once 50 years ago.
Yeah, it
I
reminds
think she wants justification for what she's about to do because, like, she wants to know, like, you remember what you did to me and my friends.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Street Fighter movie.
I'm sorry. I don't remember any of it. For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Because Leatherface has no idea who she is. And he doesn't even do her the justice of killing her.
Well, do you think he doesn't know who she is, or do you think he's just playing like fucking like, I don't give a fuck?
I think he legit doesn't remember
Yeah.
her, and
Okay.
he's not. And since she's not part of the current mission to waste all of these young people,
She's non-de-plume about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Leatherface is like, look, you are too old to be a millennial, so you are not in my current murder age range, so just step aside, please.
She's just hurt and
She
offended.
says all their names. She's like, Franklin, Joe, Bill,
And I'm glad
Bruno,
she did because I don't
Horace.
remember any of those names at all when she started saying. I was like, "Who are these people?" I was like, "Oh, the people from the picture."
Yeah, and I was like,
It wasn't until she said Franklin that I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. F."
and he's like, where'd you get that photo from? No, he just like walks past her because he's like, look, I got some young girls to kill. So then they're like on the street and she calls him out again.
This is when they start fighting, and just where she stabs him in the side.
Right, she goes to shoot him and she does, and it doesn't really like slow him down too much. And he just grabs her. She stabs him. He's like, all right, you know what? I've had enough of your shit. He stabs her with a chainsaw, goes like through her body,
Holds her up in
lifts
the air,
her up,
shish kebab style.
chainsaws her for like 10 seconds, and then throws her into some trash.
yeah, hooks her into a big pile of trash bags.
Now, let me tell you, having a knife cut in your gut and slit across your intestines, you know what? You're going to bleed out, but you got some time. Having your insides pureed by a chainsaw, you're bleeding out pretty goddamn quick.
Oh yeah, and you know that she has a ton of spinal cord
Yeah.
damage.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, God, spine damage is the worst.
Wrecked, dude. I mean, she is super dead, you would think.
Except she's not. She's been thrown into a pile of trash bags, which just lined the street of Harlow.
Yeah, right. Where did those trash bags?
Listen, these filmmakers are playing real fast and loose with the immortality powers here.
I do love the look of this city at night, though. There's just enough electricity to kind of illuminate it. There's enough like little bit of neon here and there to kind of
Yes.
give it this really beautiful, unique nighttime
And the wet
look.
streets make it kind
Yes.
of like nice and reflective.
Shout
It's cool
out
looking.
to the people who made this flick. They just did such a great job. I wish it was just a little bit better plot.
Yeah, lately we've been getting just a string of gorgeous horror movies let down by the plot. So before Sally had gone off to go get murdered, she gave the keys to her truck to Melody and Lila and is like, get out of here. So they just watch her get killed, totally ineffectual and helping her. And they're like, okay, I'm going to run him over now. So they go to do that and like he pushes the car out of the way. Like they somehow managed to
He kind of
fuck
gets
it up.
hit by it, but he kind of like he gets hit by the corner and kind of like rolls around the side.
Yeah, and they
kind of
crash
thing.
into a building. Like, I don't know how they fucked it up that bad.
She drove a Tesla. It's got autopilot. Okay.
All you had to do is go straight. That's whatever. So they hit him. So now shot, stabbed, hit by a car.
And they crash into what, like Richter's garage
Yeah.
or something
Yep.
like that.
And corkscrewed. Don't forget he's
And
been corkscrewed and Bowie knifed.
Most importantly,
You said stabbed. I'm
I-
sorry.
yes.
I apologize.
So
also people have said a lot of mean things to him.
that's your emotional damage.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Leatherface got PTSD.
He's wearing people's faces. I think he's got a little bit more severe
than
going
PTSD.
on.
Okay.
So Melody is like trapped, like a pole is going through her legs.
Yeah, has stabbed her leg into the seat, so she is stuck in this driver's seat.
And she's like, look, Lila, I'm going to die. There's not, and I'm like, you know what? I respect that. She's like,
We had a good run. Get out of here.
there's no way out of this. I'm going to die. Go save yourself. So Lila skedaddles, and Leatherface is like chainsawing his way to murder Melody. Lila comes back with I almost said AK, the AR-15, and is like, hey, leatherfucker. I was like, oh, shit. Mean words, sticks and stones. And he looks at her, and she pulls the trigger, and it's still empty.
My note here says the only way to basically face your fear of gun violence and victimhood is to get a gun and do some violence.
Yeah, and fuck it up.
Yeah, I do find that message like genuinely offensive, that the message of this movie seems to be, hey, if you're the victim of gun violence, you just need a gun and then you're going to feel better.
I don't think they're being so flippant about it. I think it comes across flippant, but I think mostly what they're saying is like, don't let this fear control you. Guns aren't inherently bad, blah, 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 blah. Except, yeah, it just comes across as very tone deaf for her journey.
Extremely. And I'm not saying that like for some individuals who are victims of gun violence, they couldn't find, gun ownership empowering in a certain way. Mm-hmm. But to me, they're implying that the only path to healing is to get yourself a gun and murder someone yourself.
I mean, yeah, not in those exact terms, but exactly. It kind of feels like look, quit being a pussy and just get a gun. You'll be fine. And it's like, let's tone it down a tad.
I do agree. I guess maybe they were like, okay, maybe it'll be less bad because it doesn't work. She doesn't actually successfully shoot the guy. She does later, though.
I feel like this movie's trying to basically dispel a lot of myths about like Texans and like, the way we are and like, the kind of like guns are inherently bad and yada, yada, yada. The way they deliver some of that comes across just a little tone deaf, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think this movie's trying to do any of that, no offense, because the only
I think they were.
Texan is like Richter, and he's like as stereotypical as they come.
Well, the thing is, it's like all the characters are very like, oh, look at that small dick Texan. He's like, actually, there's feral hogs, so we carry this with us. And it's like,
no, I mean, that's not what he said.
AR-15s, like.
I think everyone comes out of this movie looking equally shitty.
Yeah.
Except Franklin, who's just a peach. I love that guy.
Also, I mean, he's being a dick because you're not going to shoot feral hogs with a handgun. And like, that's just...
I'll shoot feral hogs with anything I can if it means my life or theirs.
Well, fair enough. But in the situation he's referring to...
Yes, I agree.
You are not using... He had like a, it was like a 9mm. That's not what you use to hunt feral hogs.
No, you don't hunt feral hogs.
This guy is definitely the 30 to 50 feral hogs meme given life.
I have to think that's what they're referencing. Like
maybe. Anyway, back to Leatherface.
So I don't remember how Melody, he stops chasing Melody now because he's like, how dare you call me Leatherfucker? And he's like, I'm going to come back to kill you. You're first up. And he goes to chase Lila. And somehow Melody gets out and they end up in the street, right? Fighting. And it looks like Lila's going to die. And Sally pops up like a fucking jack-in-the-box and shoots him.
And somehow, even though she is firing a shotgun and Lila and Leatherface are in the same general vicinity as one another, Lila does not take any damage here.
There's a small little bullet hole on Leatherface's shoulder, which is not exactly how a shotgun works from that distance.
No, but now shot twice, stabbed, corkscrewed, hit by a car.
He just brushes it off like, this again.
And Sally's like... I'm dying. I'm like, bitch, you are dead. What are you talking about?
They try to give her some dramatic last line, and I can't even remember what it was.
So what she says is she's like, whatever you do when you face him, don't run away from him because you'll be running from that fear your whole life.
Yes.
Like, basically, it's like, face your... Again, this is why I think they're going with this messaging of, like, you've got to face your tragedy and fears, because if you don't, they'll control who you are for the rest of your life. Hence the school shooting, violence, all this stuff with your fear of guns. Basically, I feel like the directors and the writers were like really trying to like face your fears, don't let them control you. And so she gives out some line that kind of basically tells her like, whatever you do, don't run because you'll be running your whole life from that fear.
Yes, she says it'll haunt you forever.
Yes. And so
they end up in the movie theater.
Yes. Lila, she shoots at Leatherface. Leatherface ends up running into the movie theater where there's a standee of a movie called Werewolves of the Alamo. And God damn it, I want that movie.
I wish I had been watching Werewolves of the Alamo.
That sounds like a Robert Rodriguez film too, so it's probably Aces.
I did Google if I could buy Werewolves of the Alamo cardboard stand-up, and I did not find any. So if you're listening out there, Fede Alvarez or anyone else associated with this movie, if you got a couple extra of those, send them my way. I want a Werewolf of the Alamo. Anyway.
We're going to set them up to terrify Garrett's roommate.
Yes. So they're in the theater, which is just, I don't know, the whole set here. It was clearly like set up to be a horror set. It made no sense why there were chairs in the...
Plastic sheeting everywhere.
It was like a
pool.
Halloween Horror Nights. Like
this is like the haunted house you'd go to at the volunteer fire department.
Yes. Yeah. A pool makes no sense. Why is there a pool there?
It's a hole that's filled with water in the middle of this floor, but it's like at least deep enough to have him stand up in it and like be underwater.
Yeah, I think it's at least probably 6 to 8 feet deep
Right.
at minimum.
Yeah. So they have a little fight in the lobby of this place, and they end up as she's about to get killed by the chainsaw. She's made her peace. She didn't run away. She faced Leatherface, so she did what Sally wanted her to do. And right as she's about to get chainsawed, holy crap, Melody jumps on Leatherface's back, is choking him out with her arm. She's like, go to sleep.
Yeah, another completely unbelievable thing, because like
Bonesaw, I got you for 3 minutes.
Leatherface has proven to be super strong. He should just like pick her up and just like throw her across a football field.
Like
And
a
also,
remora
yeah.
on a shark.
Yeah.
Like this is nothing.
like a cat jumps on you, right? Like
Yeah, this girl weighs $120
Yeah.
max.
wet. And I'm not talking about sexually wet. I'm talking about rain wet.
we get it.
And like, I don't know how many people y'all have tried to choke. If you are like a smallish woman and you're trying to choke a huge man, it's extremely difficult.
Is this where you're going to tell us how you do BJJ?
I mean, I'm still on a pandemic break, but I have tried. I'm not a tiny woman, and I have tried to choke a Leatherface sized dude. It is fucking hard.
You do
And that's
jujitsu.
yes.
Okay, I said BJJ. I was like, there's going to be some people who don't know what that means, and that's going to sound weird.
Yeah, and so like I don't know, I'm of average size, and if I try to choke a really beefy dude who's like 6+ feet tall, it's incredibly hard to do, and that's with good technique in a non-actual fight situation.
I'd like to think he just like flexes his neck muscles and like her arms just
Her arms explode off of her body.
like what's his name from Pineapple? I'm going to flex and bust out of here.
yeah, exactly.
I just picture her arms popping off like a lizard's tail.
Yes. You know, it's just a flesh wound. It's like squirt blood.
So anyway, like that gives Lila the moment to get up, and they're fighting, and then out of nowhere, Melody takes the chainsaw, which is still revving and running, and Ryu Shoryuken like runs the thing up his front chest, chest as opposed to his back chest.
I wish it had been like a Scott Pilgrim, like KO pops up on the screen, because she just nails him.
She cuts him, and then he falls backwards into the pool of clearly infected, disgusting water.
Yeah, yeah. So bacterial infection, add that.
And sinks to the bottom. And then there was one big like air bubble that popped up, and I imagine he farted.
Definitely.
Like
Yeah.
that's what it was.
It's like I've been holding this all night.
Ooh, I'm away from him. I can finally let it out. So he does that, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And Lila goes, "No."
Loved. I was like, that is fair.
Fair, great delivery.
Yes.
And they're like, "Let's get out of here. We've had enough of this fun town."
Now it's daytime.
Yes, it is daytime. They go outside, and also it's not raining anymore. It's sunny. It's
Everything's
clear.
perfectly dry.
Yeah, totally great. And as they're walking out, Lila looks down and sees Sally's cowboy hat, and she picks it up and puts it on. So the legend continues.
Yeah, it's very like Indiana Jones 4.
And friend of the show, Vanessa, absolutely called this. She's like, God damn, if anyone puts on that hat, I am done with this movie.
Fortunately, the movie was almost done at this point, so she didn't have to go far. Yes, so she puts on the hat to kind of basically say, like, she's the new Sally now. And she didn't run away from her fear, so it doesn't control her, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, don't be the new Sally. Sally was like driven by fear for 30 years, got a chance to redeem herself, and instantly died.
And Lila's facial features are so like young and stuff. When she
Yeah.
put that cowboy hat on, I was like, Carl! She looked like Carl from Walking Dead so bad.
Well, you know what this reminded me of is Christopher Guest's speech toward the end of Princess Bride when he's like beating Inigo in the fight, and he's just like, "You've been hunting me down for 20 years and now you're gonna lose? That's the worst thing I've ever heard."
That is what happens to Sally. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
except
awesome.
she has no redemption.
None. What I'd like is if she like pops up from the trash can again, like, ooh, I thought I was a goner.
You know what we missed though? You know what we missed when in the fight in the real quick just to pull it back. The fight in the movie theater, they fall Lila and Leatherface fall into that pool together, and he's pulling her down under the water. And then she gets out. And Lila climbs out, and then Leatherface like dolphin shoots out of the pool of water like 5 feet in the air to be like, haha, I'm back. And I was like, what the shit
That
can this do?
was one of the most hilarious images I have ever seen. Yeah, he is breaching like a fucking whale.
And the thing is like, I'm okay with like him busting out of the water, like splash, like, oh my God, full beyond strength. He's busted out of the water. But when he like dolphin jumps, like whale breaches out of the water, I was like, dude, what can't you do? Like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
The dolphin sound effects also made it hilarious, but just
So anyway, they get in the Tesla and they put it on autopilot because they want to show us that these things have autopilot.
well, yeah.
nonstop.
Also, we've learned that they cannot drive worth shit, even when they're trying to hit a guy.
Well,
and they
let
crash.
autopilot take.
Yes.
Autopilot
Jesus,
take the wheel. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So they're driving
And
away.
Lila's like, you know what? I will move here with you. And her sister's like, real fucking funny.
And then smash mode. Melody gets ripped out of the car by Leatherface, dropped in the street. Lila pops up out of the sunroof as the autopilot is still driving her away.
Yeah, like a meek rat. Like,
I feel like the Teslas, when your window gets broken, they'd stop.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
don't know. I don't
autopilot
have
would
one.
slow you down at that point.
I gotta tell you what, I don't know, but also if you feel that, it probably doesn't, because you've proven to know nothing about Tesla. So
Got you there.
Very true. But we look back in the street and Melody is getting beheaded by the chainsaw. Leatherface picks up the head and just Tuscan Raider that
Yeah.
shit in the middle of the road. And then Lila's like, no.
and then he does like a real half-ass sort of Texas Chainsaw
Yeah, he
dance.
does this little
dance.
chainsaw dance.
But it's like,
I'm glad they threw that in there. That was so great.
but I mean, it was also like, he's like, yeah, all right, say the line.
I know, but I thought that fit.
Ay, caramba.
I thought it was really cool. So anyway, credits roll, and there's an after credits scene that we were told to stick around for by our resident chainsawer, Mark. Chainsawee.
Shane Sear.
Ooh, very nice. Class A. The credits end, and we get a scene of a country road, Take Me Home, where we see a person walking with a chainsaw. Oh my God, it's Leatherface. And a little pan back pulls out that we're going to the Sawyer house. So he's going to a house. So he's not dead. He's going back to a home that he lived at. I'm guessing it's the Sawyer home.
Yeah,
It looks
must
a little
be.
different, but it looks like the same. And bam, this was filmed in Canada. So
Okay, well, that's
part
a
of it-
transition.
A lot of it's filmed in Canada, evidently, because they had like a bunch of like Canadian like credits.
Yeah,
in
it
the,
was filmed in Ontario, I believe.
Yeah, well, Ontario known for being very Texan. The,
Shout out to the filmmakers though for making it look
Yeah.
like Texas.
Well,
they did a good job.
the
I mean,
Texas of
honestly,
Canada.
Like Letterkenny takes place in Ontario, and I'm like, actually, the landscape in Letterkenny is very similar to kind of like flat Texas
Yeah,
landscape.
It's true. It's not like our landscape is tremendously notable, right? Just flat and brown.
Yeah, take that, America. Canada does it better. Anyway, so that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, or as we like to call it, Halloween 2018,
Part
or as we like
3.
to call it, Leatherface, Face the Music, or Leatherface, Face Your Fears, or any other face pun that I can think of
Yeah.
really quick. I think I'm out. How'd you guys like it? Recommend it?
I'm going to give it a soft recommend, right? It is really gory, it is really fun, and it is really short.
You're already subscribed to Netflix.
Yes.
Give it a watch.
I mean, there's no harm in watching it, but know that I think some of the even worse sequels that are like objectively worse movies are better Texas Chainsaw movies than this one. This is just like just a monster movie that takes place in a small town.
Yeah, I would say this movie is short and the kills are fairly creative. Overall, I did not like this movie, but if this is the kind of movie you're into, you might like it. Might like it more than I did.
So no recommendation from you?
I'm going to say I can't in good conscience recommend this, but if you want to watch it, watch it. I don't care what you do with your life.
There you have it.
Very, very smooth.
You know what? Live your life, listener.
Watch what you want to watch. Do what you want to do.
Follow your bliss.
Look, I believe Digital Underground said it best. Do what you like.
There you go.
I actually do recommend this movie, and I know that's a rough one, but I think it's paced well. The kills are really cool. It's very pretty. It's like just a very well done. Like I enjoyed my time watching it because I like to give these movies my sit down. Like don't do anything on my phone. Don't like work on art attention. I could watch them, and I was very happy with what I saw. I do have a bit of a problem recommending it just because like the story is so kind of cobbled together. I feel like they had the bones of a really amazing kind of follow-up, and then they just leaned heavily into some stuff and just didn't really know what they wanted to do with what they leaned into. So I'd recommend it because, A, you already got Netflix, most of you.
Yeah.
You might as well watch it. It's for free at that point. But I would definitely temper your expectations. Know that they're trying to go for Halloween 2018, and they kind of missed the mark with their like nostalgia references, the way that Halloween hit on theirs. So I was really just sad that the whole Sally plot just did nothing.
It was never going to be, I think, an effectual plot because it is just such a blatant ripoff. And the Halloween franchise has done a lot of work to make it where Laurie is like an important aspect of the lore, and there's like groundwork in the other sequels, even if they wrote them off, that this person does have a revenge story.
And they probably popped it in there because they're like, oh shit, we need to pad this out, because if we don't make it to 60 minutes, this is technically a short and not a feature.
I feel like they saw what Laurie Strode did, and they really wanted to capture that kind of like badass return of the final girl type thing. But you're right, John. You put into words what I was thinking. Is Laurie is such an integral part of the Halloween movie that you can't get away without her. And Sally, while she is the final girl, really doesn't have that same gravitas that Laurie does. So when she comes back out, especially with her training as a Texas Ranger, and then basically just gets washed away so quick, I liked part of that because I love the fact that Leatherface was able to take out this like, oh, she's a badass. Oh my God, Leatherface is more badass. But again, Leatherface is supposed to just be a dude. So like, unless he outsmarted her, I didn't really like feel the same way that I felt when Laurie goes toe to toe with Myers. So I recommend watching it. I would just say temper your expectations and know that it's not a fantastic horror flick. If you got an hour and 20, you're going to enjoy it.
Watch it for the creative kills. Don't watch it for the plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agree. Hard agree.
Go.
Also know that Netflix has the far superior 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. So you can watch this and then like go watch that and end your night on a highlight.
Yeah, definitely watch the remake. It's so fucking amazing. Mark, this is your chance, man. You tell us, is it a recommend? Is it a pass?
Well, truthfully, Garrett, I think you guys have pretty much nailed a lot of the feelings I had on it. The messaging of the movie is really muddled. They didn't include anything about the cannibalism and the family. You need those in a Texas Chainsaw movie instead of just making Leatherface this lone villain. He's not a lone villain. He's a part of the Sawyer clan, and I needed more of that for this to feel like an actual Texas Chainsaw movie. So you guys are right. This is just a monster movie out in the middle of nowhere. Leatherface is way OP in this. Just watching him do all the stuff that he could do as a 70-year-old man is just unbelievable. You guys are right. The kills were pretty good. So I would recommend it for that alone and solely that alone. But yeah, do not come to this movie for any Texas Chainsaw lore, history, continuation, any of that stuff. It doesn't really succeed.
Well, thank you all so much. That sounds like it sounds like 3 half-ass recommendations and one maybe okay sort of recommendation. What did you guys think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 on Netflix? Let us know on the social media. We got thegravetalk.com. We've got our Twitter. We've got our Instagram. We got our Facebook. Also, I mentioned it the other day on Twitter, but I finally got around to starting to play Resident Evil 8. Holy shit. That is, as John would say, a banger.
Yeah?
Oh, man, it's so good. We're going to have some clips of that stuff coming out. Look for me and Mark to kind of talk about, the 8th installment of that franchise. But I'm finally got to play it, so we'll see some of that coming soon. If you have any recommendations for us, any kind of, feedback, hit us up, let us know. As always, we love you guys. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that other stuff. Slap that like button, John.
Slap that like button. That's correct. Everyone who reviews us on iTunes is obviously our favorite fan. So if you want to be our favorite fan, get on iTunes, hit that 5 stars, and just know that I will, every night when I go to sleep, like Arya Stark, I'm like, yeah, I list all your names.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Not in a murderous
No,
way,
in a favorite fan way.
Yeah. He's got a little shrine built. It's very creepy.
Astonishing, yeah.
But anyway, thank y'all so much. We'll be back next week for our other film, which I believe we're gonna surprise you with it. Either it's the new Scream, depending on when that's out on digital, or it will be Happy Death Day, I believe.
Happy Death Day. What a great film.
So it'll be one of those 2 flicks. We'll let you guys know beforehand so you can watch it in advance. And as always, thanks for listening to the Grave Talk podcast. Bye.